It is 9 o'clock in Tuolumne County. Call this meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, and I would ask that the captains of the Sonora High School girls volleyball team, Mrs. Dambacker and Lawrence, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. We'll take oral communication, 15 minutes for the public to speak on any item that is not printed on the agenda.
Good morning. My name is Duke York. I'm here this morning as chairman of the Children's Holiday Party, which is a great annual tradition here in Tuolumne County. This event started back in 1983. We had last Saturday our 31st annual party, and it has quite a bit of local history. The originators of this event were Harvey McGee, Frank Salell, Dean Cunningham from Columbia College, and one of your very own Board of Supervisors members, Jerry Bella. This year's party is done all with local donations and quite a few interesting groups that are involved in this party. The local DA's office does cookie decorating. The Sheriff's Department helps with the setup. The CSU unit was there. Tuolumne County Superintendent of Schools, the Sonora Area Foundation, the Women of the Moose run the kitchen, and then we have many game booths sponsored by Rotary Clubs, Kiwanis, Clampers, the Watch Program. The Bikes for Tykes were there, did bike giveaway, 95 bicycles. Library Bookmobile gave away over 1,000 books. Sonora High School Interact Club did face painting. Sonora High School Cosmetology did 59 haircuts and 128 manicures. And of course, Santa Claus. You can't have a party without Santa Claus. And we were able to reach out to over 850 children of limited means, their parents, grandparents, and siblings. So great party, had a great time, and all of the contributions for this party come from the community as a whole. So it's a wonderful thing, and it's a great tradition.
Thank you, Duke.
Thank you.
Come on up.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is David Wynn, and I was here 2 weeks ago, and I talked to you about the fact that the Constitution does not have the language separation of church and state in it. What I didn't do is tell you what it does say. Actually, we do want separation of church and state, and the Constitution can be interpreted to intend to separation of church and state because the government would muck that up. So we certainly want separation of church and state, but it doesn't prevent or prohibit prayer in public places, like a manger in a public place. There's been lots of court cases, some have been won, some have been lost, but if you actually read what the Constitution says in the Federalist Papers and the intent of the founders, there is no prohibition of those types of things. What I do want to do today is just read the First Amendment to you so that you know what it does say about the religion and government. It's very, very simple. It says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or prohibiting the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people to peaceably assemble and petition the government for a redress of grievances. So see, it says nothing about separation of church and state. And I think that's very important this time of year especially. I want to wish you a very Merry Christmas. And I also want to congratulate the volleyball team as a Sonora High graduate. I had chills down my spine, just everywhere. It was just a wonderful thing. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment? Okay. Could the clerk please read the consent calendar?
Minutes of the meeting held November 4th, 2014, accepting the notice of completion for the 2014 Jamestown Post-Closure Maintenance Contract Number 1687, approving the appointment of Janet Johnson to the Tuolumne County Behavioral Health Advisory Board, and approving the appointment of Richard Collier to the Board of Supervisors Airport Committee to serve as the Pine Mountain Lake resident representative. And I believe item number 3 will be pulled for discussion.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the consent calendar with the exception of item 3.
Second.
Motion and second. Public comment? Call for question. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries 5-0. Clerk, please read 3 again.
Consideration of approving the appointment of Janet Johnson to the Tuolumne County Behavioral Health Advisory Board.
Thank you. Morning, Steve.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Steve Boyack from the Human Services Agency, would respectfully request that your board do consider appointing Janet Johnson to the Tuolumne County Behavioral Health Advisory Board, but for the term of July 31, 2017 instead of 2016. That was a mistake, and I want to correct that mistake.
Okay. Questions? Could I get a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the appointment of Janet Johnson to the Tuolumne County Behavioral Health Advisory Board. Term expires July 31st, 2017.
Thank you, John. Second?
Second.
Motion second. Any public comment? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Okay. And for the sake of these girls getting back to class, we're going to take item 6 out of order.
Okay, it's
Is that discrimination?
consideration of approving a certificate of recognition for the Sonora High School Volleyball State Championship title.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I would like to thank Supervisor Brennan for allowing me to make this motion. But on behalf of Supervisor Brennan and the entire board, and indeed, I think, a very impressed and honored county, I would like to move that we approve the certificate of recognition. And in addition, I will leave the wording of all the whereases to the Chief Administrative Officer and for you to sign. I move that we declare Friday, December 19th, Sonora Wildcats Girls State Champion Volleyball Team Day in Tuolumne County.
Do I have...
With great pride in another example of excellence in Tuolumne County, I second that motion.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I think I have to confess what may be a Brown Act violation here. You see, Supervisor Rotifer and I talked about this beforehand, but then he told me I couldn't second the motion because Supervisor Brennan wanted to do it, so I'm confessing that we probably committed a Brown Act violation in a serial meeting.
I
forgive you.
I think we should correct and say that we will never do that again.
Yes. Okay. But I do want to say, you know, I got calls from people around the state telling me, Sonora won. I'm constantly asked, where's Sonora? Where's Tuolumne County? You girls put us on the map. Perseverance, dedication, passion for what you do, and a lot of hard work pays off. I want to extend my congratulations on behalf of myself, but all of my friends who aren't here or were cheering you on. You did a great job. Keep it up. Do it again. And I'm glad you got to play hooky a little bit.
Has it sunk in yet? It will.
Just a short comment. My daughter played volleyball for Sonora for 4 years, and I really know the work that you guys put in. I mean, the countless hours of travel, because I went to every volleyball game for 4 years, and you guys have done it also. Many of you I know are seniors, so it's just fantastic of what you've done. Congratulations.
And I'll just add also that I'd like to congratulate you. This is a wonderful achievement, and it means a lot to our community. You've represented your school and your families and Tuolumne County very well. and I'm sure you will all do wonderful as you move forward in your lives and go to college. And so, on behalf of the board, oh, do we have to vote? Oh, well, I think we know what the vote's going to be. Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So with that, I guess I would ask that I could present this to the team captains, I suppose, and also I'd ask that all the other girls stand up and get a little recognition. I'm going to read this real quick. So it says, in recognition of the Sonora Wildcats volleyball team for their achievement in winning the Division IV 2014 CIF State Championship, the Tuolumne County Board of Supervisors commends the Sonora Wildcats volleyball team for their unwavering dedication to each other, their coach, their school, and their community over the last 2 years in pursuit of this achievement. So, congratulations.
Bye-bye.
And no, it's thank you.
Yeah, let's do item 5.
Consideration of approving the certificate of recognition for Annie Milberg for her years of service upon her retirement from the Tuolumne County Community Resources Agency.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm Bev Shane, Community Resources Director. I'm here this morning to ask your board to approve a certificate of recognition for Ann Milberg in recognition of her retirement on December 31st. Ann has worked for the Community Resources Agency, which at the time she started 19 years ago was the planning department, and she has been a GIS technician throughout her career. When Ann first began working for the county, we didn't have many computers. GIS was in its infancy stage, and Ann, who had previously worked for Sonora Mining Company as a CAD systems operator, was aware of how to do computer drafting. And so she made the transition to the GIS world and really provided us with the expertise to move that program forward in its early stages. Throughout her tenure with the county, Ann has been the person behind those maps you see in your agenda reports. So you might not see her publicly, but her maps and her work has certainly been in all those public documents that come out of our office. Ann also has been focusing her career on maintaining the database. The most important part of our GIS data system is the parcel layer, and she's the one that makes sure that that is up to date and changes the general plan, the zoning, and when there's a land division or a record of survey or something changes, which happens a lot, she's the one that keeps everything accurate. So I'm here today again to ask your board to approve a certificate of recognition and to acknowledge that Ann has made a tremendous contribution to the county and that we will certainly miss her expertise and her untiring dedication to our efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Bev.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the certificate of recognition for Ann Milberg.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, any public comment on the motion? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. And with that, I would like to present this to Ann.
I just want to thank everybody. I've been here 19 years, and as Bev said, we started with hand drawings and then went to computerized drafting, and the technology just changes so rapidly, and you have to just try to keep up with it. And I'm ready to move on to do some other things, and I'm passing the torch to a nice young woman who the young blood who's more savvy with even technology than I am. But that's fine. I just want to thank you. It's been a great opportunity, and I've enjoyed my stay here.
Thank you, Ann.
All right. Clerk, please read item 7.
Consideration of recognizing Supervisor Randy Hanvelt for receiving the 2014 Tuolumne County Chamber of Commerce Excellence in Government Award.
So, Mr. Chairman, the title, the intro, just that pretty much summarizes everything. Rather than having us present Randy with his award in front of everyone of the public, we asked the Chamber Executive Director, Mike Ayala, who's being distracted in the back of the room, to come up and present this award publicly.
Thank you, Craig. Morning, Mike.
Good morning. Good morning, Board. Good morning, Tuolumne County. Mike Ayala, Tuolumne County Chamber of Commerce. And since Craig's item says I can make a few comments, I'm going to take some liberty, but not very long. I just thought it'd be worthwhile. We had our 93rd Annual Community Awards Banquet on Thursday, November 20th. Keep in mind, Board, it is the Thursday preceding Thanksgiving. That is on the calendar for next year at that time, and we would love to have you there. We've missed you the last couple of years. I understand the meetings and the schedules, but according to the schedules I've received from some of you, it looks like this next banquet in November 2015 will work wonderfully. With that being said, I also wanted to recognize some of the other people before I get to Randy. Mike Albrecht was voted Citizen of the Year, and it probably bears a little repeating, but the nominations come in from all over. It can be community, it can be city council, it can be Board of Supervisors, it can be chamber board members. So they all come in, we collate them, we put them together in a pile, we call a special board meeting, and the board votes. And in fact, there were so many people that were nominated that are friends of mine that I know. I stepped out of the room. I distanced myself on purpose. There were a number of competing friends, and so I just felt it was best if I distanced myself from that. But Mike Albrecht was voted Citizen of the Year. Ridge Snyder, Sonora Subaru, Entrepreneur of the Year. Steve and Cindy Zielinski, Small Business. Chris McCoy, Black Oak Casino, was the Administrative Professional of the Year. The Nonprofit Organization of the Year, the Black Hat Foundation. And if you ever get a chance to see them in action, you can't miss them with those black hats. David Winslow was Teacher of the Year from Sonora High School. And it bears thinking about the youth and who's coming up behind us to make things better, greater, and hopefully much more realistic. Students of the Year, Sonora High, Tess Houghton. Tioga High, Dylan Marburg, and Somerville High, Cassidy Weathers. So I just wanted to let you know who has been nominated, who was selected, and who won. And we are here to thank Randy Hanvelt and the board for putting up with Randy. Those of you that know him, Gloria, my heart goes out to you, my dear. But Randy won election in the 2010 primary, took office January 2011. That seems like a generation ago, Randy. Since taking office, he has been active as both the county alternate and delegate to the California State Association of Counties, otherwise known as CSAC, serving on the Ag and Natural Resources Committee. Randy has also served as an advisor and an instructor for the CSAC Institute and earned a credential as supervisor and now recognized as an Institute Fellow. Randy also serves as delegate to the Regional County Representatives of California, RCRC, or what we call Rural County Reps, where he also serves on the Executive Committee. In his position as chairman last year, and this was part of the nomination, Randy also served as the Emergency Services Director. He was a leader in the county response to the recent rim fire and now the recovery efforts. Randy is a dedicated public servant who believes that government owes its constituents the very best possible and should add value to their lives. No excuses, just results. So with that, Randy Hanvelt, I missed you that night, so now we get to have some fun. So the Excellence in Government 2014 Randy Hanvelt Board of Supervisors, presented by the Tuolumne County Chamber of Commerce and sponsored by Black Oak Casino Resort. And then, if I get this right, from Congressman McClintock, a certificate of congressional recognition presented to Randy from the Board of Supervisors, from Tom McClintock, dated November 20th, 2014. And this one's a little... You got it? And then the other item, and these were all presented that evening, so from what I understand, it took the sheriff's office to execute a search warrant to get all these items back from Randy. But California State Legislature, certificate of recognition, presented by Assemblymember Frank Bigelow.
I thought I got out of this by being out of town. Thank you, Michael. A couple of comments. First of all, you have Michael to thank for this. He was my campaign manager twice. or blame him, as the case may be. But seriously, it's an honor. It's a privilege to receive this award. It's an honor and a privilege to serve the people of Tuolumne County, and specifically the people in District 2. But you know, no man's an island. No one does this by themselves. I have a lot of support when I do things. Most of all, I have the support from the most wonderful person in the world, right here. My bride of almost 50 years and love of my life, Gloria. Nothing happens without her tolerating me. But I have to say that this county is blessed with an incredible group of people. You start with the Board of Supervisors. We don't always agree, not exactly in lockstep, but you've got dedicated people here who are working really hard, and it's a privilege to work with them. And without them, I couldn't do anything, because when I'm gone, they cover for me and vice versa. It's really important. The staff is unbelievable, and the interaction between the various offices. I see the Ag Commissioner here, and working with Vicky's terrific. The Sheriff, the Legal Counsel, Transportation, Health and Human Services, CRA. I see Rob back there, and he's working hard. Everybody in this county works hard, and I can only accept excellence on behalf of the whole team, because it doesn't happen without them. So with that, I say thank you very much. I'm awed and I'm humbled. But there's one last thing. In the immortal words of a certain member of the county council's office, she says, "Don't encourage him." Too late. You did it. So this invigorates me and energizes me, and I will keep going and working, because I work for the people, and it's a privilege to do that. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Randy. It's well deserved. Okay, moving on. Could the clerk please read item 8?
Consideration of approving the appointment of Gary Stockel for the 4-year term as the Agricultural Commissioner, Sealer of Weights and Measures, Air Pollution Control Officer, and Animal Control Director.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we have our current Ag Commissioner, Sealer of Weights and Measures, Air Pollution Control Officer, and Animal Control Director, Vicki Hilmar, who will be retiring January 23rd. That necessitates a recruitment, which we have undertaken, and involved calling for applications, screening of those, going through an interview panel, a private grilling with their top candidate, with yours truly, and then the most important step is an interview with your board, going over in detail, background and vision for the county by your top candidate. That top candidate is here with you today, Gary Stockel, sitting next to Vicki at the table. Just for the public to know, in his educational background, he has a Bachelor's of Science degree in forestry from UC Berkeley. Also completed a ton of units in the field of biology with CSU Hayward. He does possess an Agricultural Commissioner, Sealer of Weights and Measures license from the California Department of Food and Agriculture.
As far as his work background, he has 32 years of related work experience, 8 years with Alameda County and 24 years with San Joaquin County. Most recently in San Joaquin County, Gary was a senior agricultural biologist for 5 years, a deputy agricultural commissioner for 13 and a half years, and an assistant agricultural commissioner for 5.5 years. Gary comes to you as an extraordinarily well-qualified candidate. You know, the resume aside, part that I always look forward to is doing references on individuals. And in my book, there's 3 categories that I'm looking for. I want to hear about a person's character, their competence in their job, and then their chemistry, their ability to get along with people. Here are some of the comments that I heard in each of those categories. As far as Gary's character, he's an honest, ethical, and takes responsibility. You can rely on his word. He has high standards for himself, and others. He's solid at work and privately. He grew under an ethical manager. He's fantastic. You can count on what he says, and he doesn't play games. As far as his competence, extremely competent, recognized statewide in his field. He's fair, and he's reliable. He can do the job, no question. He knows the topics, extremely level-headed. Good thought process, good ideas, bright, good experience, and breadth of experience. In the area of chemistry, that he is a collaborative person, strives for win-win. He listens. He treats people fairly. People like to work with Gary. He's very positive. He listens well, and tries to address what people bring before him. I enjoy doing those kinds of reference checks and hearing that kind of background on any individual. And again, that speaks extraordinarily well, of Gary. In your board packet does list the compensation package that we've already discussed, and that would be approved by your action today. Again, something that's different, as unlike other department heads, this does require the appointment to an initial 4-year term. It's recommended that term begin on December 29 of this month and run through December 28 of 2018. And then how this will work, because it'll be wonderful because we'll have a month of overlap with Vicki and Gary. You don't get that very often. Vicki will remain in charge with full powers and authorities through the end of her term in January 23rd. And at that point, Gary takes over with full power and authority in the position. So it is with great pleasure that I recommend that your board go ahead with this appointment as just described to you.
Thank you very much, Craig.
Before acting, I know that Vicki had something she wanted to share.
Sure.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Vicki Helmar, Agricultural Commissioner. I wholeheartedly endorse this appointment. I've known Gary since 1990, and I worked very closely with him for 18 years when I was with San Joaquin County. And I cannot think of a more qualified, dedicated, and ethical person to be chosen as our next agricultural commissioner. His background and knowledge in forestry and his past experiences in animal control make him an excellent fit for Tuolumne County. I'm excited that Gary has decided to come to work here, and I know that I will be leaving Tuolumne County in good hands. But I also wanted to take this opportunity to thank you as the board for providing the opportunity for Gary and me to work together for a full month before I actually leave, so that we can ensure that there's going to be a really nice, smooth transition for our county. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki. And thanks for setting us up. Go ahead, Randy. Or Carl.
Sorry. Well, first of all, for people that don't know it, Gary actually has a qualification that nobody's talked about before. He's already followed Vicki once in his life. So he kind of knows what he's in for. I just want to thank Vicki for a tremendous experience working with you. It's really good, and I'm looking forward to working with you until you leave. And I want to thank you for helping us find Gary. I know that's really important, but the interview process, as far as I was concerned, was exceptional, Gary, and looking forward to working with you in the future.
Thanks, Carl. Randy?
Yeah, I'd like to add that working with Vicki Helmar is a real gift. It's a blessing. She is so thorough. She's so knowledgeable. You're going to be missed. But I have to tell you something, Vicki. Several times I've offered you the opportunity to stay on and not retire. I'm withdrawing those offers today. We have to have this serious talk.
Well, you couldn't come up with the $1 million or the Airstream trailer, so.
Well, we were negotiating. But with that, I having met Gary, I thank you for that effort. And Gary, I want to tell you that we look forward to working with you. Big shoes to step into, but I know you're capable of that, and I look forward to that. And I would make the motion on staff recommendation that we appoint Gary Stockel to a 4-year term as the Agricultural Commissioner, the Sealers of Weights and Measures, the Air Pollution Control Officer, the Animal Control Director, and all their tasks may be assigned with the compensation package outlined in the memo.
He's the only one in the county that needs either 2-point font or 8.5 by 11 business card to get all of his duty titles on.
So is that a second?
I was going to defer to Supervisor Brennan for the second.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that. I was really concerned when I heard you were retiring, Vicki. I know a lot of our ag folks in the county had concerns, and I want to let all of them know that after the very exhaustive interview process, we have a fantastic new ag commissioner. And so again, thank you for helping find him. And with that, I'd second the motion.
Thank you, Sherry.
Just
comment.
I think Vicki's not going to miss that ride from her house to Sonora very often. I'm sure of that, and I really wish you well. I know we'll talk again before retirement. And Gary, welcome.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Of course, just a reminder, we will have a chance to grill Vicki on another day.
Absolutely.
We'll catch you.
It's not the.
That's okay. We'll have more to say.
Okay, but you might want to give Gary one last shot before you actually vote.
Sure. Well, I'll take public comment. And Gary, if you'd like to
he may not want
take
to
a chance.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. I appreciate all of the good words that have been spoken today about my abilities. I do not expect to let you folks down with the job that I will do for you in the future. I'm looking forward to coming to Tuolumne County, working with the board and the various industries that all 3 hats, or 4 if you distinguish sealer away from the ag commissioner, will end up encompassing. And I have had the opportunity to follow Vicki in the past, and she does have very large shoes to fill. And I'm looking forward to continuing the good work that she's started here in the county.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary, very much. All right. With that, I'll call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries 5-0. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
All right. Could the clerk please read 9?
Consideration of accepting the gift deed for historical artifact known as the Bromley Carriage Stone.
Morning, Ken.
Good morning. Ken Catano, Assessor Recorder. And before I get started, I wanted to say welcome also to another Berkeley grad. So good to see another Cal Bear in the audience. So what we have today is a little unusual opportunity for the county. We're asking for your approval of the acceptance of a deed of gift for what we call the Bromley Carriage Stone. What's a carriage stone, you may ask? Well, it's a big block of granite, and it's a couple cubic feet of granite that was used as a stepping stone in order to get into a carriage back in the 19th century. It's significant, especially significant, because it belonged to Dr. Robert Ennis Bromley, a very prominent Sonora physician in the early 1900s. And he had a home on Washington Street on the site of what's now Yosemite Title Company. And in front of that, he had displayed his carriage stone with his name, Dr. Bromley, and I included a picture of that, the last page of your handout. probably weighs about 500 pounds. It's quite an impressive block of granite. No, I did not bring it with me. I asked Charlie Dyer from the archive to bring it, but we're afraid it might fall through the floor. It's so heavy. So typically, Charlie at the Carlo DeFerrari archive accepts documents, books, photos, other written material that pertains to the history of Tuolumne County. This is a little unusual because it's a three-dimensional object. However, the donor contacted Mr. Dyer at the archive. He's a descendant of Dr. Bromley, Mr. Tom Fulton, and he offered the stone to Tuolumne County and executed a deed of gift, which is included in your packet. A little bit later, he also asked specifically that we do whatever we can to put the stone back as close to the original location as possible. That was also echoed by the granddaughter and great-grandson of Dr. Bromley. They also sent letters in requesting that we put it as near to where it was originally located. Dr. Bromley also had a sanitarium that he built near that location, too, which was in effect for many years. We did try to, this has been going on for several months, as Supervisor Brennan knows. Way back in April, we received this stone and have worked with the city in trying to do a loan agreement in order to have the stone placed by the city near that original location. However, because of the Vision Sonora project, which is still in the works, they'd like to see that the street and the sidewalk improvements get done before we actually place that stone. We've also discussed with County Council a possibility of displaying that item sometime in the nearer future before Vision Sonora is completed, and hopefully we could work out an agreement with Yosemite Title to where they could display that inside of their building until such time as it can be placed outside for the public to see. So all I'm asking for today is just to accept that deed of gift and allow us to continue to provide safekeeping for that stone at the archive, and hopefully sometime in the future work out something so that it can be displayed so everyone can see what a neat item this is. I know Jeff Kearns is in the audience, and he might like to say a couple words about it too.
Thanks, Ken.
Thank you.
Questions? All right, we'll take public comment.
Good morning, Jeff Kearns from Yosemite Title Company. When Charlie originally called me way back when and showed me the Bromley stone, I've got a lot of pictures there at the office, old pictures and whatnot, and sure enough, you can see the stone in those old pictures. So we were immediately excited about this, and we would be honored to have that stone in our office and then to hold it for safekeeping until later on when Vision Sonora is complete and we can get it permanently set somewhere that everybody can agree on. But being in the title insurance industry, our business is history, and that we think it's a great piece of history, and we would love to be a part of the Bromley Stone history. So,
thank you, Jeff. No, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Board. I'm Connie Williams. I'm a Sonora City Council member. I'm also the chair of the Vision Sonora Implementation Committee, which means we are moving forward with this Vision Sonora plan, which is the community plan. And what a great gift that was discovered on property under weeds, a beautiful gift that is that will become part of the Vision Sonora project. The first project, and we talk about the plan like it's something over there that's not even completed yet. It is complete. It was voted on and accepted by the City Council at the beginning of this year. The first project, which is the project on Washington Street between Church and Stockton, it is going into the design phase. We have a design team for that area, and that will set the tone for the complete Vision Sonora plan. And what a wonderful piece of that, the Bromley Stone, will become the historical piece. So stay tuned, because it's happening, and it will be the first part of the plan to be completed. The dollars are there, and we're excited about this happening in our city. And the council is excited about the beginning of the Vision Sonora community plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie. Sherry?
So I would first like to thank, of course, the folks, the family that's donating the gift, Carlo for working on it, and the Kearns family for accepting. It's really nice when we can return pieces back to where they historically were, and everyone can enjoy them, and it brings that piece of history alive. And so with that, I look forward to making a motion to accept this gift and eventually see it displayed as close as we can to the original site that it was in.
Second.
Motion and second. Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right. Let's take item 10.
Consideration of approving a reorganization of the Office of Revenue Recovery, update of job specifications for the Revenue Recovery Manager and Senior Collections Officer, and associated changes to the position allocations.
Good morning. Ann Fremd, Human Resources and Risk Manager. Before you today is a proposed reorganization of the Office of Revenue and Recovery that includes updating class specifications and allocating position changes. I've worked with Shelley Peach and Michelle Ronning in studying. They've studied their department, and they proposed this reorg because it will improve workflow and productivity of the department, as well as increasing collections. The current staffing, the number of staffing will remain the same. However, there will be a change in one position. The account clerk 2 would be demoted to an office assistant 2 when we reorganize the department. Currently, collections officers enter over 450 new accounts per month. And they're also taken away from their collections duties during the end of the month financial accounting closing of the books. When they're taken away, that's approximately 40 hours where they're not doing collections time. And that obviously impacts their annual cash flow. By eliminating the account clerk and adding an office assistant too, they can reorganize all the clerical duties to the appropriate parties, and therefore relieve the collections officers of doing the clerical duties. Some of the accounting-related duties, such as account ledger postings and stuff like that, have been reassigned to the Revenue and Recovery Manager, who also has a background in finance and accounting per the job spec. We also have we've modified the Revenue Recovery Manager to include those duties, as well as the Senior Collections Officer job spec, who would be the backup to the Office in Revenue Recovery. I've included lined and unlined versions of these job specs. The Senior Collections Officer, Dan Michele, is going to be retiring in December, so we would be able to use the new class spec for recruiting. So it's recommended that your board eliminate the position of the account clerk 2 and add the position of office assistant 1 and make appropriate changes to the position allocation. Transfer Michelle Pedro, who is the account clerk 2, to the office assistant 2, and approve the revised class specifications for Revenue Recovery Manager and Senior Collections Officer.
Questions?
No question, just a comment that this will be an annual savings of
Oh, yes.
$2,974.
Yes, it's an annual savings of $29.74. For the remainder of the fiscal year, it would be a savings of $14.87.
Right, thank you.
Thank you. Can I get a motion?
I move that we approve staff recommendations.
I'll second.
Motion second. Is there public comment? Bring it back to the board. Call for question. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries 5-0. Thank you, ladies. Okay. Let's take item 11.
Consideration of adopting a resolution continuing the local state of emergency as required by the California Emergency Services Act, Article 14, Section 8630C.
Good morning. Tracy Riggs, County Administrator's Office and OES Coordinator. So this item is before you today due to the fact that there was more than 30 days between the last board meeting and the first board meeting that we have in January. So I do need for your board to review continuing the local state of emergency. As a quick update for you, we did have, I'm going to break this into our big systems, small systems, and then our private wells out there. With the big systems, we did just recently have this last week, we had our County Drought Task Force meeting. Unfortunately, it was also at the same time at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when the storm was supposed to hit. It probably was not as well attended as we would have liked, and attendance has dropped off over the last few months. But so far, they're all reporting that they're doing well. Their static levels, a lot of those smaller systems are on wells. They're not such as TUD, which is a surface system, but they're all doing well right now, and they do know how to contact any of us in the event that they start experiencing problems. And that includes some of the smaller systems there that have as many as just a few, 3 to 5, as many as 25 to 50. And then now with the wells that we have, as you know, we had an update for you this last board meeting. We are up to about 80 homes without water, and Rob Koslevy, our Environmental Health Director, is here to also give you an update if you have any questions. To break that down, there are 15 homes that so far we have referred to ADCA for some form of temporary assistance. We do have a lot more to go through, but I'm making personal contact with each of those to gain additional information as to how we will prioritize those installations for them. 23 homes we have worked with Tuolumne Utilities District and the State Water Resources Control Board Drinking Water Program. And we are working on getting those 23 homes permanently connected to TUD. So going forward, they will not have any further concerns with water issues, unless, of course, TUD begins having issues, which they will have an update with you to give to you on the next board meeting. We have asked all of the water systems, the larger water systems, and any of the smaller who'd like to come in on the first board meeting in January to give you an update so that you are aware as we go forward, what are we looking at and what are their highest and most pressing concerns. With that said, we do have Pete Campa, who is the general manager for Lake Don Pedro Community Services District. I have a few handouts for you as well, and he is here to give you that update and answer any questions. Vicki Helmar is also, as you know, still in the audience if you have any questions related to ag with the drought.
Thank you. Morning, Pete.
Chairman, good morning. Let me try that again. Mr. Chairman, good morning, members of the board. I'm not sure if trouble follows me or I follow trouble.
You just can't get away, can you?
But
were you referring to Ms. Riggs?
Oh, God. Let me tell you, Mr. Hanvelt, let me tell you, that is the savior right there in Christmas clothes. I'll tell you, this county has been absolutely fantastic and a model statewide in chasing down solutions for an extremely serious problem. I actually couldn't even believe what I was seeing, having managed this Lake Don Pedro district in the 90s, the last time the reservoir was at this elevation. And at that time, we were filing actions in court to try to stop the in-stream flows, because we also had predicted at that point, when I was early in my career, that we were going to run out of water. And the court basically said, no, everything's going to be just fine. But this time, it's different. There is really not much of a possibility of getting that in-stream flow dealt with unless we get quite a bit further down. in elevation. So what I wanted to do was just give you an update that we are on this thing to the best that we can be. In your hands, I'm going to start using this graphic over and over to show you the reservoir elevation, and it's sort of representative of the way that lake works in that between 810 feet above sea level and 710, it's considered normal. Our pumps are set at elevation 700 feet, so as long as we've got 10 feet of water over them, we're good. Then we're in an emergency condition anything below 710 because we've got to launch a float pump out there in the lake and pump water up to the pumps to pump them to the treatment plant. And it's floating out in the lake. It's got 440 volts over the water, and it's just really not a good scenario, and it's very expensive to operate and not as reliable. So basically, then there's a water supply warning, and actually these labels don't mean anything except to Pete Camper right now. But you're going to start to see this over and over because these are the 3 levels of concern. We are in a warning state, and the board did adopt a resolution that I'll talk more about briefly. But as of the 14th of December, we're at 595 feet in elevation. That lake has basically just inflow and outflow have equaled each other right now because of the rain, so it's not coming up significantly. So we just continue to lose a quarter to a half a foot a day during dry periods when the inflow slows down. And it's predicted again that by the end of March, if we don't have a number of days of rain like we're having, that reservoir will be empty. So we've got a short planning window. Had a really good meeting in Don Pedro on December 3rd, had 150 people in the gym. I couldn't believe it. I figured 30. It was raining like crazy, but it was packed. And the board, by unanimous vote, adopted the mandatory water restrictions. 30% currently. We're coming into winter. The community hasn't had it before, and if we've got 30%, which I believe we can get, that will get us through until we get some snow melt. In other words, if we've got a lot of snow held up in the up above the reservoir, and the reservoir just keeps dropping, which is not unusual, then this 30% should get us through until the snow melt. Now, to take that a step further, we're ramping up our outreach, and let me just tell you about the restrictions. The normal stuff, pretty much like you saw with TUD. In fact, it's great to have such good models to go after, and so we pulled the TUD stuff. We've got a baseline where if people are under a baseline on their usage, then they've met the conservation, so that we're not chasing everyone. And it's based on gallons per capita day usage. In other words, if you've got a large household, you have a higher allocation. Our community is way below the 20 by 2020 conservation numbers normally. So we're a little bit hardened in how much we can reduce. So 30% is a really good number until summer rolls around. We will be increasing the outreach. The most significant thing will be a notice, a mandatory water conservation notice that will go out with the next billing in the next few weeks. So everybody, right around Christmas time, everybody's going to get notified of that in that way. We've updated our website. We've got a lot of outreach going on with various media links and all that. So, and then lastly, the project that we're developing, you've got that in your packet. Might be the first time you've seen it. It was handed out today. Starts off with securing our water supply down to that elevation 560, which involves more pipe, a better cable, because it's got to go all the way down the bank, 1,200 feet from the pump down to where the water is, way out in the river. So a lot of infrastructure in between there that's hanging out in the open. So we've got to extend that and get that secured. That's the first phase. The first phase also includes, there's a modification to that proposal. We're moving at least one of the wells from phase 2 into the phase 1. We're moving forward with that right now. I met with a hydrogeologist yesterday, and we're going to get a driller out here as quickly as we can. We intend to get 2 wells in. We usually have pretty good producing wells in that area near our treatment plant. 2 wells will meet our demand. If that lake goes dry at the end of March, it will meet our demand through until people start to want to irrigate. But we've got 6 months now to roll it out and explain to people what's going on. So we'll just, if we wind up with an empty reservoir, we'll stop outside irrigation. The last and most long-term project is to get off of that existing intake. As you know, with Pinecrest, this lake used to operate between 810 and 710, very full all the time. Now, with in-stream flow requirements and everything else, it's not unusual for it to drop down below where our pumps are. In a normal operating cycle, just a little bit of a drought. So the real option is for us to install a deep water intake at McClure Point. It's about 4 miles away, and that will get us in water down to the very bottom of the dam. In other words, below where they can even release. That's the ultimate long-term solution. Could be up to a $10 million project. We're predicting in the about a $4 million range for the construction of that. But it would, it's a little bit of a long-term planning thing because you can't get permits that quickly. If nothing else, if that doesn't work out, then we'll extend the pumps that are in the existing location down another 100 feet. So it'll give us an operating range down to 600.
How many customers are there?
About 1,450 active connections, 3,300 lots. And we've also, one of the biggest problems is we've got 3 different development projects that are prepared to submit to the county in and around our service area that we really can't service.
Yeah.
So that's a big concern as well.
I got a question.
John and then
Yeah,
Carl.
get John. Pete, you spoke about the flow requirements, and that has to do with how much water they're letting out for various reasons. Can you just kind of expand on that? Why we can't hold some of that water back, or why they can't?
They can. MID has submitted a request to the Department of Water Resources to reduce that down significantly and hold that until February or March. Okay, and that's so that they can see what this winter does. And it also, because of the weather patterns, it hasn't done them much good to be releasing now. They're not dealing with cold water. The reservoir's empty. So anyway, long story short, they have submitted requests to reduce it. And if it looks like this, the weather is going to remain where we barely get these storms and the reservoir is not going to last, then we need to all be pulling together to help MID. We have committed in any way to help them.
Okay. Second question is, after your December 3rd meeting, I received a call from a constituent down there that I'm still trying to catch up to. Could you, and I know you do this, but just reaffirm that Tuolumne County is helping you guys?
Oh gosh, yeah. That believe me, my closing discussion has been, it has been overwhelming. It can be 3 to 5 times a week to every day that I'm hearing from Tracy, and if she is expecting a response back to me yesterday, she's knocking on my door. And it's great because it's busy. You guys are absolutely doing everything you can, and like I said in the beginning, it's a model of success in helping these communities through. This district wouldn't have been there, wouldn't be doing what we're doing if it wasn't for the county.
Okay, and the other thing is about your web page, the contact number on that web page. I tried to call that number several times, and I can't get through.
I'll check that out. That's interesting.
It goes to an AT&T saying that the line has been changed or disconnected or something like that.
Is that on the home page?
Yeah, and that's because I was going to try to catch you before the last meeting because I knew I couldn't show up. But I think it's 852-2331. Is that an act?
That's the main number.
Okay, well,
interesting.
All right.
Well, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that because there's always bugs in everything, and this we are getting a lot of phone calls. And so we want to make sure that the communication is clear. If you hear from any constituents, anyone, please send them our way. We've got the office is staffed, and as well we've got information on our website that we're constantly updating.
All right, I'm done. Thanks.
Carl?
Yeah, welcome back, Pete.
Glad to be here.
I think that, like Don Pedro Service District is in good hands. This is not for you because I know you know it, but I want to just say this for the benefit of anybody down in Lake Don Pedro that is listening. To conserve 30% during the winter months when it's almost all internal use inside the house is not easy, okay? It takes significant effort. Most of the conservation that TUD experienced was actually during the summer months through very greatly reduced outside irrigation, which takes up a lion's share of the water. So when Pete's asking you and your board is asking you to conserve 30%, you need to be doing some very significant reduction efforts inside the house to make that happen. And I want to also, we've said it before, Pete said it, but this county staff is working really hard around the clock to get it. And I also got to give a big shout out or kudos to Cal OES. They're really great partners in emergency. They were in rimfire. A lot of times they were out in front of us, helping us pave the way on areas that we weren't as experienced as they were in, and they're doing the same thing with our OES folks here in the county. But I really do want to thank the county staff, everybody that's working really, really hard to take care of the people that are they're at the end of the food chain on this drought emergency. So I really want to thank the county staff for that. And again, Pete, welcome back.
Thanks, Carl. Anything else? Let's make a quick one. I appreciate all the work you guys are doing. You guys are doing a good job.
Thank you.
And staff as well. I still don't understand how we can't just close the valve on the dam. All the water's getting flushed down. It's just crazy. I know it's not you guys. You guys know. You fight with these.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
I do need to bring one up. One issue. You don't see it in this project list because it hasn't been vetted. But the surface elevation of a full reservoir in Don Pedro is 830 feet. And currently, I don't remember what their capacity is, but when you drive by, it looks pretty empty, but it's got a lot of water in it. And the location that is fairly close to our district is the deepest water in that lake, and it is within Tuolumne County, and that reservoir is something we need to be pursuing for a water supply for that area. And I think the water agency would be a good place to help vet that a little bit.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, just a comment. We really do need to start putting some pressure on the state and the feds in some cases. In the case of Malone's, it's the feds on these in-stream flow requirements, because they're not, if we don't at least hold the line, and hopefully we could scale them back, but if we don't hold the line, there's already a project to reintroduce salmon to the Tuolumne River watershed, at least up to the Lake Don Pedro, and probably up above that. And if that goes forward, I'm all for putting salmon back in there, but if that goes forward, that's not going to decrease. That's going to increase the in-stream flow requirements out of Don Pedro. So stand by for more, I guess is my message. But we've really got to start pushing back, and I think we need to put that on our legislative agenda as a real priority issue.
I reported yesterday to my board in Don Pedro that in 1 year, in 2014, the amount of in-stream flow release from that reservoir equaled the current consumption of the Lake Don Pedro community for 350 years. I mean, think about that. That's huge. And that's 1 year's worth of releases out of that reservoir in a drought year. So very, very substantial numbers.
Yeah, that's absolutely insane. Once again, thank you very much for being here, Pete. Appreciate it. Is there...
Yeah. I move on staff recommendation to extend the drought emergency.
Motion second, public comment. Bring it back, call for question. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries 5-0. Let's take a little break, and we'll come back.
Get some.
Okay. Back in business. Could the clerk please read our number 12 item?
Consideration of approving the draft 2015 Tuolumne County Legislative Platform.
Staff report.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, one tool that your board has availed itself of to set policy and direct the affairs of the county is to establish an annual legislative platform, which basically is a list of legislative priorities. I've included a copy of last year's, well, actually, I've put an attached draft 2015 legislative platform. It has very few changes that staff is recommending in it. Things that are deletions are marked by a strike-through, additions by an underline. And it is my intention to just present this today to get your input and then to bring a final document back to you at the beginning of January. So with your indulgence, I could quickly tell you the things that I'm recommending, and then the board can concur, not concur, add to, take away from as you so desire. Is that all right?
Sounds good.
Okay, all right, Mr. Chair. Then just moving down under, again, just by way of reminder, we last year broke this into state versus federal issues, which was very helpful for our legislators. I'm going to skip all the way down to under Section A on local government control and efficiency to item 4, personnel. And this is more of a bow to realities. I'm recommending that we strike the elimination of any oversight or regulation of county employment processes, personnel process, organizational structure, staffing levels by state merit system. It is really frustrating that we can't control our own structure and job descriptions on certain positions that are in the welfare area of county government. That's controlled by state merit systems. I don't think that's right. But I don't see that changing anytime soon. It's not even on other people's radar screens right now. And not that it's an upsetting thing, but I also recommend a similar situation with regard to the requirement for the Ag Commission, Sealer Weights and Measures to possess certain license from state food and ag. Again, just bowing to the realities. That's not going to change. And then there's 4-year terms that are assigned to the Ag Commissioner, Sealer Weights and Measures, and county councils. Again, that's just not on anyone's radar screen. I don't see that having any chance of moving anywhere. So just bowing to being practical and not to try not to clutter your ledge platform, recommend we take those out. Item D, under business citizen friendliness, we did attempt to get legislation related to our public power agency to allow us to utilize direct access for the purpose of business expansion and attraction. We actually got a bill drafted up, AB 923, by Assemblyman Bigelow, and that got absolutely nowhere. Got killed right out the gate, and don't see that as anything that is worth pursuing at this point, or being realistic to pursue at this point. Under water rights, item E, am recommending injecting protecting against legislation and or regulation that would expand requirements for the low and very low priority water basins, such as our own, to establish groundwater sustainability agencies and groundwater sustainability plans. And then under G, other areas of interest, adding in the pursuit of legislation to move unused AB 900 Phase 1 funds to AB 900 Phase 2. The Phase 2 program shifted funds should be used for projects within the same county pool from which the money originated. That's a big part of our hope for funding our county jail. And then under federal, there's really only one item, and that is under category, is it B, business and, no, yeah, B, business and citizen friendliness. Under planning and building processes is adding an item, support legislation such as H.R. 5078, which your board did, which was the Waters of the U.S. Regulatory Overreach Protection Act of 2014. And that's really the sum and substance of staff's recommendations. Can add, take away anything you'd like.
Carl and John.
Okay. I've got a couple things that, first of all, just some fine points on the writing. We talk about CEQA, NEPA in both state and federal. It's NEPA and federal and CEQA in the state, so we probably ought to separate that out. But I think we need to have as part of our, both our state and our federal platform, ESA reform. Okay. That's the Environmental Species, or the Endangered Species Act, I'm sorry. And Supervisor Handbelt and I were both at the GAC yesterday, the Chamber Government Affairs Council, and got to listen to the new minority leader in the Assembly, our old Supervisor Kristen Olson, speak. And her, one of the things she talked about was making small steps and not trying to swallow the elephant whole. I think one of the things that I would like to see us focus on CEQA reform rather than take on all of CEQA, but I would like to see some specific language change in CEQA relative to mitigated negative declarations and negative declarations that raises the bar on the burden of proof in lawsuits, in tort actions against CEQA decisions, and then also that addresses legal fee reimbursement in cases where an entity is sued and the permit is immediately withdrawn. I think if we narrowly focus in those two areas, we can get a lot of things done that we really need to do in the area of CEQA reform without taking on the entire law. The other thing on water, I really would like to change the language on our state agenda to reflect not just that we protect against legislation and or regulation that would expand the requirements for our areas, but we really need to be actively engaged in any of the legislation that comes out reference to groundwater management. And the reason I say that is we can protect now, but all we are is in a defensive crouch. Whatever language gets legislated is going to eventually migrate up to us. So rather than being a defensive crouch, I think we need to be actively engaged with our legislators to make sure whatever language is put in there, if it did apply to us, would be acceptable for us. And I think we can do that most effectively probably through our CRC, but rather than just Tuolumne County getting in a defensive crouch and not caring what happens down in Stan County, I think we need to be more actively involved in that language.
Okay, just for clarification, so that would be additive to what's there. We still want to try to protect against it, but if we also want to be involved and try to guide it.
I think we really need to help, be partners in the shaping of really meaningful, and there's no question that groundwater management needs to be done, okay? No question whatsoever. But there's a lot of devil's in the details things, specifically to the power that is vested in state agencies to make determinations that can't be appealed. Those kinds of things, we need to get the right kind of language enabling legislation affected. And those would be, and then the other thing that I would add to the state agenda is some of the water bond money is going to be legislatively determined where that's going to get spent or how it's going to get spent. And we need to be actively engaged in that water bond legislation, the enacting legislation for the water bond. And I'm done.
John?
Yeah, underwater, and I'm not sure exactly where this will go, but earlier we talked a little bit about the inflow requirements in the streams, and I pulled off a fact sheet off the internet on New Maloney's, and it says that the north, south, and middle fork of the Stanislaus River contribute on an annual flow 1 million acre-feet of water. Now, when you look at the amount of water that New Maloney's holds right now, if it was full, it has a capacity of 2,400,000 acre-feet. So right now we have a mud hole. We knew we were going to have a mud hole when the Bureau of Reclamation went into their management plan, the 808-page document that we reviewed, I think, second year of my term. And I believe we sent a letter to Bureau of Reclamation saying we didn't like the way it was managed because we'd have a mud hole. Getting back to letting water down the stream during a drought year for fish flow really doesn't make sense. You have a drought, if there's no water coming in, obviously, if it was a natural environment, you wouldn't have any water coming out. So somehow I think we need to look and see what we can do to help with the better management of those inflow requirements, whether working with Oakdale and Modesto Irrigation District. But we need to step up on that and see where we can put some pressure to get some common sense use of that water.
Especially in emergency situations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sherry?
And that's what I was looking at also, and so I don't know under water rights if there could be something added there that specifically addressed those stream flows, especially with all the science out there. This year, for example, the biologists are all saying that we actually harm the species with those releases because they laid their eggs knowing that there would be no water, for them to actually
come in and flush it.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So
and the fluctuations.
They actually did harm, and so I agree there's an opportunity that we need to really go after and would like to see that elevated.
Let's see where we at. Under personnel, relaxed training requirements for volunteer firefighters and first responders. I got a email from Karen Burkhart, Association of Realtors. She had a concern just about the language of that in relation to our 10:30 appointment with fire insurance. She was just concerned that looked like we're lessening the quality of our fire system. And I kind of explained the reason that we have that is that we've had a decline in our volunteer enrollments based on the increased training requirements. So we're trying to boost our numbers, make it easier for people that have lives and jobs to be able to, sorry, I wasn't talking to the mic, be able to participate and fill those positions. So I would just ask that we figure out a different way to word that to where it doesn't look and give that impression.
Understood.
Yeah, there's a number of things that have come to light, particularly recently, that are of concern to me, and one of them is the transparency of government, in particular at the state level. There's several of them. One is this GRAP program by the water boards, looking at groundwater regulation and meetings by invitee only. The counties aren't being necessarily invited to these things. We haven't been invited, and I think that we need to insist on open public forums and that they, in effect, coordinate with the counties. Another one is Fish and Wildlife and the reduction of the fish plant coming out of Maloney or out of Moccasin and other places. And I know they claim it's a budgetary thing, but everybody knows that the revenues in the state are up. So why is this being done? Why is it not having public hearings? Why is it not having environmental and socioeconomic impacts looked at during the decision-making and the reaction paper published from talking to them, that in fact they've made the decision and they've moved on. They published it well. It's an obscure place on their website, and even having a fish and wildlife guy who wrote it help me find it, he had trouble finding it. They're doing things without public notice, without, and in the natural resources meeting I said it was a callous disregard for the public interest, and I think it is. And so I think we need to insist that before these decisions are made, that the county get into the game, and that they do have public hearings and they do look at the economic and environmental impacts. I put that down and a bunch of other things. I think we still continue to have a problem with biomass being promoted. The issues on the rimfire, and I know that a lot of that material out there was being burned in place. That was the plan of record, pile and burn. But if CARB is really interested in reducing greenhouse gases, they'd support biomass, and instead of giving lip service to the game. Biomass generation reduces greenhouse gases dramatically, 98% reduction in criteria pollutants, for instance. I think that we also need to push on the fish and wildlife and the endangered species. For instance, the frog and the toad, they list a bunch of critical habitat, but they don't really have a plan to deal with corrective action on the root cause. The root cause is not the fish eating the frogs. In fact, it's a fungus that attacks a frog, and so they need to be attacking the fungus, not just setting aside space and saying thou shalt not enter or something. It's just wrong. There were also comments here about CEQA and NEPA, and I heard some complaints actually from the Forest Service about where they overlap with private lands, that the CEQA and NEPA analysis are dramatically different, and one is not accepted for the other, and we need to get some way of making them a little more consistent in these rural counties. I have a few more I've already sent to you, Mr. Pedro, but one of them, for instance, is promote the state early takeover of the IHSS issues. That just needs to be done. Each county is doing it separately, and I just think that makes inconsistency and divide and conquer kinds of things. There's a few more, but one of them, the last one I want to mention, is in the GAC meeting yesterday. There was a discussion with Kristen Olson over the disparity in lawmaking, regulatory rulemaking, and basically in the legislature, urban versus rural. They're just ignoring the rural county issues, and I think we've got to find a way to get rural county issues up there. The one-size-fits-all for the urban areas clearly doesn't fit us, and it slows us down. And they also believe that the recession's over in the state, but that's true, and maybe in Silicon Valley, but it's not true here. It's not true in the rural counties and the foothills. We're still in it, and so we need some recognition of rural county values and rural county issues as being separate from the urban issues, and maybe separate from some of the suburban and valley issues. So anyway, I've sent you a number of these recently, and when we look at it in January, we can discuss them more. Thanks.
I just want to make a comment. I agree with Supervisor Hanvelt. The only problem that I see is that we can only do so much. So, we can't do it all. It's all important, and we need to figure out, what we can actually get done. And collectively, it becomes such a long list. Do we throw a dart at it and say this is the one that was most important? I don't have an answer for that. I've just pointed out that we have to be realistic, that we can only get so much done.
Yeah, and I agree with that also. And so I just wanted to really look at one thing with forest health, and it's infrastructure. And so what do we need to do to promote infrastructure, and how do we get that to become a priority? How do we get a commitment from the Forest Service that X amount of board feet will be put up every year that will sustain increased infrastructure? And along with that, I think the county at some point needs to be looking at stewardship contracting. And so that's got to be a piece of what moves forward.
Thanks, Sherry. Carl?
And I believe, if didn't misread, and I might have, but I believe there's language in the current one of the authorization bills that's gone through, and that has already gone through, to separately fund firefighting in the Forest Service from their forestry management budget, and I think we need to continue to support that and make sure that that's not just a one-time deal. We don't need to be giving the Forest Service, not that they make excuses, but we don't need to be giving them the opportunity to make an excuse that money's an issue on that when they're having to divert forestry management funds to fight fires.
Anything else? Take public comment. Can I get a motion?
Well, Mr. Chair, given what you just told me, that's a lot. So I can just take that as direction to come back with a modified platform, because I don't have enough to put it into a form to actually call it a draft. But I heard all of what you said. I'll put it together as best I can, and we'll probably modify it a little bit in January before it gets adopted. I do want to make one comment, because actually department heads, we were talking about this too, is kind of the point that Supervisor Gray was getting to. There's so many things out there. You know, what are the county's priorities? Now, how we dealt with that last time was to put them on the top of the list with asterisks, so our legislators knew what your most important items were. There's even discussion, well, should we just, drop some of these other things off and just get down to that short list? But there's still value. I thought about this, and my thought is it's still a value to have these things articulated in your platform, because I'm looking down the line. We have RCRC, NACO, and CSAC representatives here, and others that participate. You all participate in those organizations one way or another, and this is a good reminder as to the board as a whole's position on these issues. So whatever environment that you're in, this is a good base document to have, so that you're always consistent in supporting what the board as a whole wants in those forums.
Yeah, and I agree wholeheartedly, Greg, because while I think it's important for us to prioritize internally, and even to some extent externally, but you never know when you're walking around the halls in either Sacramento or Washington when somebody's going to ask you, what's your position on this, okay? And it may not be a priority issue, but it maybe has a problem that you can get a good positive solution to at that moment. So I don't go anywhere that I don't carry either the state or the federal legislative platform of ours with me, and I just hand it to them. I go, this is our position. So it is very, very helpful. I do agree we do need to prioritize it, especially for staff, but we need to be able to articulate that this is a priority for the county. Whether it's high on the priority or low on the priority, it's at least a priority.
Okay, thank you. So we have consensus, you have direction. We'll see it later. Okay, could the clerk please read item? Yeah, let's do our 10:30. We've got people waiting. Yeah, it's 10:41.
Okay, presentation and consideration of possible action to improve availability and affordability of fire insurance in Tuolumne County.
Okay.
Okay. Well, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, while this is heating up, the lamp is heating up, your board has long had the Fire First Responder Study, the implementation of that. This is something, well, even go back. The board knew that we could always improve upon our fire services in Tuolumne County for their own sake, to prevent catastrophic fire, and have aggressive, effective attacks, to fires, and to address things such as fire insurance. That led to the Fire First Responder Study, and we've been trying to chip away implementing that program since we first worked on it back in the late 2000s and up to even after the final study was adopted in 2011. So based on the discussion at the last board meeting, said I'd go ahead and bring a presentation to the board and for the benefit of the board but also the public to talk about how our fire system works generally, because you could spend a day on that topic, but I think that's important to understand. Then how do you get at issues such as fire insurance and things like that. So what I've done is put together a presentation that actually went through with Supervisor Royce before the Board of Realtors several weeks ago. It'll be a summary of the Fire and First Responder Study completed back in 2011, and then it begins to focus in on discussions that we've had recently with representatives from all of our fire departments, from the insurance industry, Board of Realtors, and local governments. So with that, I'm just going to go ahead and try to shoot through this. This will be redundant, not new information to some. It will be new to others. Based on the response we got from Board of Realtors, I think it would be really good to take the time to go through this so people have a base understanding of how our system works. And by the way, we have our fire representatives right here, and they're available to answer questions as we go through this, or we can wait till the end. And I know encouraged Chief White to add his comments to this as well. And at the end, we're looking for direction as to beyond what we're already doing, what other things would your board like us to be focusing on in the future. So just taking the highlights from the 2011 study, the purpose was to develop a plan to strengthen the county's fire and first responder system. Some of the primary study objectives were to maximize fire and first responder coverage and response for citizens. And let me mention that it was a fire and first responder study, and that's not just fire service and preventing fire, putting out fire, and things like that, but also first responder, which is dealing with also response to medical calls. But for this purpose, I'm focusing on fire. One of the other major objectives was indeed to increase availability and affordability of rates, for homeowners insurance, and then to provide professional firefighting and first responder services. The summary of the existing system. Again, these are older statistics, but they still hold, they're pretty representative of what's going on today. Up on the screen is a chart that shows calls for local fire resources between 2006 and 2009. And you'll see you have different categories of public assist, hazardous materials, to medical aid, to other fires, structure fires, vegetation fires. And right in the middle is the big green bar. And this usually surprises a lot of people. And we usually discuss this in terms of the green bar, medical aid, and public assist, which oftentimes also get grouped in there. This would be your medical aid responses, and that's approximately 80% of the calls that your fire services respond to are of a medical response nature.
Yeah, Craig, can you characterize for me, or can one of your able assistants characterize for me what other fires would represent? I kind of get the structure and vegetation, but
I think those fires could include, thank you, Josh White, Tuolumne County Fire, CAL FIRE. Other fires can include debris fires, vehicle fires, miscellaneous trash fires.
But it shows, this is a surprising chart to a lot of folks, and you can see, if you can tell from this graph, in the medical aid area, it was growing radically at that point. What are your fire stations and the types of calls that they get? At the time the study was done, you had 7 paid fire stations in the county. Mona Village, that's your primary county station. City of Sonora, Groveland, which since this was done is converted to a CAL FIRE contract. Columbia College, which is a county station. Tuolumne, Twain Harte, Miwok, Sugar Pine. And if you look at this, you can see the two biggest call volume stations are indeed Mona Village. This is about 2,100 calls a year, And then you had Sonora at about 1,100 calls a year.
How about, since this has changed dramatically since you got Jamestown back in operation?
Okay,
has
well,
it
let me keep going. And just mention, all of these except for Groveland are on this side of the Tuolumne River. But so notably, you have Groveland up there about 600 calls, but they're pretty much by themselves. The next stations are a long ways away. And then on the next slide you had at that time what were all volunteer fire stations, and then getting to your Supervisor Hanvelt's point is you look at Jamestown, and it's, again, about 1,100 calls, about the same volume as the city. You know, the city's fire station, at that point, it was volunteer. Since this study was done, the board has made sure that that is funded year-round. It's now a paid station. And you've made it one of your very clear goals, you know, that we want to make sure that it stays that way. But that was phenomenal response for a volunteer station. If you see that 73% of the time, you know, they were responding to that call volume, and that was pretty much on the back of a couple primary volunteers down there. But the one, well, I'll just stop. You know, there. I could go on. I'm going to try to do this quickly. This chart shows the county, the main parts of the county. These darkened areas, the big swaths, represent your major population centers. So this is the Don Pedro area. Then we have the Groveland area. And here's Jamestown, Columbia, Sonora, and then going up the Highway 108 corridor, you know, Twain Harte, Miwok, and on up. So you can, we're just trying to show these are your major population centers in those darkened areas. The triangles represent your staffed stations. The circles represent your volunteer stations. This chart showed, and this was based on actual calls that we charted out. This took a lot of time to figure this stuff out. How far could people get within 5 minutes coming out of a paid station? So now coming out of those paid stations, you can kind of see this thing spreads out like an amoeba. How far can they actually get? And that's based upon actual calls. So you can see they can get out, you know, quite a ways, but look at all those big population areas that aren't covered yet. And that first 5 minutes is, you know, critical. You know, minutes make a big difference on the effectiveness of the response. The next slide shows if you were to add in your volunteer stations, now you're covering a lot more of the populated areas of the county. The one caution here is that with volunteer stations, while very important, very few of them have people actually in the station waiting, you know, for the calls to come. So it takes time for them to get to their equipment and get to the scene. So while they'll be coming, it's going to take them a longer period of time to come. The next slide shows just your paid stations. How far can they get in 10 minutes from receiving a call? And now you're seeing a much larger part of those darkened population centers being covered. If you add in the volunteer stations, now you've got almost all of those major population centers being covered. And again, if we had time, I should also mention that, you know, when it comes to a fire, particularly a structure, you know, fire, there's not one department in the county that can respond to those and do what they need to do from one station only. They need each other's to, you know, to back up and provide additional support. So, you know, the way the fire system is built is everybody helps each other out, and that's absolutely essential to the effectiveness of the response from the system. So this is just to give people an idea, you know, how long does it take for these stations to get out, you know, to you. That's why we need a number of them, and you'll get an even better response if they're actually paid, you know, paid stations. That's the importance of Jamestown. And again, without going into the recommendations of the study, these are specific needs. From the study, we identified specific needs that transcended all of the alternatives that we looked at in the fire first responder study. We wanted to enhance our fire prevention efforts. We wanted to improve our water infrastructure. We wanted to support increased fire thinning and creation of fuel breaks. The board just spoke to some of that. We want to prioritize recruitment and retention of volunteers, which this board will recognize that we certainly have, you know, with the assistance of these fire commanders to my right. We want to reopen volunteer stations, which we have not been able to achieve yet. We want to maintain the Columbia College Fire Academy program, which we've been able to do. We want to modify dispatch protocols to save resources. Send what you must, but no more, so you're not burning resources. Move towards dispatching closest resource. Those last two bullets have been determined to be a priority that your fire chiefs are working on right now. We want to plan strategically to improve our insurance service office ISO ratings. And we want to do all of these things and more, maximize our existing resources before even thinking about seeking additional resources from the public. Again, demonstrate we're making efficient, effective use of the resources that we have before ever asking the public for additional. So that's a quick flyby as to your existing system. So now we move on to the August 29 fire insurance meeting with those fire chiefs, insurance industry, Board of Realtors, city county representatives. We thought it was important to kind of paint the environment in which we're writing insurance policies today. And these are pretty self-evident. We're building it in the wildland-urban interface, have been for years and continue to do so. Makes it hard to protect homes. We're building up fuels on state and federal lands, and your board's talked a lot about that. At the time we were having this meeting, numerous large fires had been occurring in California, not the least of which was the Rim Fire. And I think right after this meeting is when the King Fire was happening. We had the challenge to attract volunteers, and because of that, the closure of numerous volunteer fire stations. We had weakened financial condition and capabilities of our paid stations. Due to Prop 13, folks have actually lost money. These fire districts have lost money, and then those revenues have been, the growth on that has been capped over time, and it's affected them. We had the cost to replace or build homes in California continues to go up. That affects what the insurance companies need to pay for. We have aging water infrastructure, and everyone here knows that. That's why you see the stripes going down Main Street, Sonora, trying to replace those to TUD's credit. And then we had the impact of multiple years of drought on water supply today. And then something that hasn't been talked a lot about, but insurance companies themselves suffered great losses during the Great Recession. If you think of them like a bank, they too have to make investments. What do they do when people pay those premiums? They make investments, and mainly on the market. And we experienced that as a county government through the CSAC Excess Insurance Authority, and our companies, they had to recoup losses that came about as part of the Great Recession. So that was the environment in which we're writing these policies today. So what were the main issues that were confronting us? When insurers are looking at writing policies, there's many things, but these are the ones they said were the most important. The proximity of homes to full-time fire stations, the area ISO or property protection class rating, brush modeling, topography, elevation above 2,000 feet generally costs more. The age of the home factors in, the heating system, roofing materials, the access to the home. Dead-end roads are problematic. Yes, sir?
I see this list, but in fact, this came from the insurance companies?
The insurance representatives saying what have the greatest
impact? I hate to tell you that I don't believe them, but I don't believe them. And the reason is we just had a presentation by a man who's got thousands of gallons of water and booster pumps and all the rest of this stuff, and he's cleared his land and all the rest of that stuff. They work off of item 2, and they don't do it parcel by parcel. And I think they're fooling us. I mean, I hear these arguments, but when Mr. Fryer has an adobe house with a tile roof that won't burn, they're not giving him credit for it. They speak out of both sides of their mouth. Actions speak louder than words.
Well, do you want to say
this wasn't from insurance companies, it was from agents locally. So when the agents are trying to write policies, they put it together and they go to underwriting. These are the issues that the companies are raising. So this is just being filtered down to us as some of the issues. And I think in different cases, these issues with different companies are they raise to different levels with different companies. If you look at like brush mapping and things like that, there's companies that have their own consultants that have their own maps and their own risk kind of assessment. And also another thing, I don't know if it's on here, is saturation is another issue. Yeah, you're going to get into that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to it. But.
Yeah. And that's something, I don't claim to be expert in this, so I'm just asking a lot of questions in meetings like this. And as Evan said, some say they absolutely use and rely on ISO, and others don't use it at all. Some more heavily than others. It just depends. And that's why it's the numerous factors that they identified. Well, moving on, some of the pricing factors, what's been the claims history, and this kind of rings true just for anyone with, it could be your car. What's your claims history, the cost to replace the dwelling, the type of roof, again, deductibles, is it how high or low, is it a multi-policy or not, is it homeowners with auto and others, or standalone, is it inside or outside of a fire district, again, what's your ISO rating, all those things can affect your pricing. And getting to the point that Supervisor Royce just hit on, insurance company covered saturation. Anyone wants to try and spread your risk if you can, particularly an insurance company. And if they feel they're saturated, they have too many homes, too much loss potential in one particular area, they will back off on writing policies, if not stop writing policies, which some insurance companies have done in Tuolumne County. So they're actually pulling out from the market, and this makes the problem even greater. They caution that people should be careful of changes made by the homeowner. It may result in no or higher cost insurance. And these are the local agents saying, be careful. You could even have a name change on a policy. You can have a change in your coverage. You can desire to switch companies because maybe it looks like it's a better deal by switching. But it could put you at danger. They're just saying check things out before making changes, in your insurance. That's coming from the local agents, cautioning us. Now, as I say that, and we can talk about this at the end, I think this is the kind of stuff, though, I think the state insurance commissioner should be able to weigh in on. Someone just makes a change on a policy, or they shop around. Now, all of a sudden, they had a policy for a year, and then they're not renewed. That doesn't sound like a fair practice. But again, these are local agents cautioning people. What are some potential solutions? I think we do a good job of this, informing people the importance of defensible space. All of the agents mention that. And some of this is not just an insurance issue, it's just the practicality of making your property safer and giving our fire folks a better chance of making a save on your property. But I do think we do a good job here. Talked about educating insurance companies on our community. Look at our actual fire break mapping. There's things that are unique to Tuolumne County, the fire breaks that we have. We can get a more accurate fuel mapping. We can talk more about fire loss experience. Those have been around here for a long time. Think back to the 87 complex fire. We had very, very little loss of homes and structures in that fire. During the Rim fire, we had very, very little loss of homes and structures. We had some, but the potential was so great, but we do a good job. So fire loss experience. And other special factors were brought up. What about how many communities have an air attack base in their backyard that allows us to stomp on a lot of these fires? Something that Chief White brought up is about fire smart building in communities. Could we incentivize fire smart building and encourage fire-wise communities where if you follow certain practices, good practices, making your community safer, you can become certified as a fire-wise community and hopefully get insurance companies to recognize that and give you less costly policies. And one that was mentioned is a community that can be really close to that is Pine Mountain Lake because they're very aggressive in that regard. Special studies, things that were brought up, some jurisdictional boundary issues. We rely on each other again through mutual aid, auto aid agreements. Some of the, as you'll see in a second on these ISO ratings, some folks think it's as simple as let's just annex, into, each other's jurisdictions, and I don't want to discount that totally, but those are issues that we can look at. We can look at challenges faced by specific communities. Long talked about communities like Cedar Ridge, that has one primary way in and one primary way out. Ponderosa Hills, same thing, and that affects how we're looked at for insurance. ISO specific actions, try to enhance our ISO ratings, educate ISO on our fire mitigation techniques in Tuolumne County, change ISO's fire line system, something that was brought up at this meeting that frankly I cannot speak to. That's a different term for me. But secure recognition of mutual aid agreements. Now I've heard some people say they do recognize that we do have auto aid agreements between fire services that come in to help each other. Others say that that's not recognized. That needs to be clarified at the very least. For ISO suppression ratings, folks find this pretty interesting. They think it's all about the fire house and the engines and the people on them, and that's an important factor. That's 50% of the factor. 10% is the fire alarm and communication system, and 40% is the water supply system. I know a lot of folks, they think it's all about the firehouse and the engines and the staffing. There's a lot more to it. This chart shows the most current ratings for different fire districts, and I'm not going to get into the details of it. I did get just a sticky note coming in here that Strawberry, you'll see third from the bottom here, didn't have a rating provided. Just got that, and they're a 5.5X, and that was also on November 1st, and have not been provided the most current one from Miwok Sugar Pine yet, but I'm sure we'll get that soon, and I can complete this chart.
What's the difference between X and Y?
You want to speak?
And lower is better, right?
Lower is better.
Yeah.
Steve Gregory, Tuolumne County Fire. It comes down to a water supply.
Okay.
And distance to that water supply.
And if you're wondering if you looked at the fire study when we did it back in 2011 versus what we have today, that's what this chart shows.
That's worse.
It's showing that we're either the same, like in county fire, or better in Columbia Fire. Hats off to them. Groveland, about the same. There's nuances to each of these things. With Jamestown, about the same. Again, I don't have Miwoks to comment on. City of Sonora, slightly better. Strawberry is definitely better, going from the 7 to the 5. Tuolumne going from a 5 to the 4. Twain Harte from the 4 to the 3. So in general, we're either holding the same or doing better than where we were for ISO ratings since the study, the original fire first responder study.
But the insurance keeps going up.
Correct. And we'll come back here and talk about, there are nuances to this and talk county fire for a sec, but just for context, this is something came right out of our report from ISO. It's a chart that shows if across the country, countrywide, these are the different ratings that fire departments have, and you'll see, from a class 1 all the way to a class 10. As you just saw in the chart that I showed you, that most of our fire departments are here between a 2, and a 5. This is where we are. We're not down here in these, these higher or worse, ratings. So in generally, we're on the good side of the higher side, the better ratings compared to the nation.
So ISO applies to an entire district, a fire district in their boundary, not to a specific residence or something like that. Yeah.
Here, Joe.
That's where the different changes. So you could have 5 and 5X. So it depends. It may depend on their proximity to the fire station, whether it's the first.
Yeah, you could be on the outer edge out in the boonies versus right next to the fire station with the fire hydrant. So
Exactly.
how do they look at that then?
It's the proximity to the fire station, and then also the proximity to the water sources. So if they're more than 5 miles from a fire station and more than 1,000 feet from the hydrant, they could be actually a 10. So it's kind of a default that these two numbers that we're given, 5 or 5x, is proximity to the water source and the fire station. If you're well outside of all of that, you could be an ISO 10 rating.
So you can be a higher ISO rating within the district then?
I'm not so
That's
sure about
not
any of the districts in Tuolumne County, but there are areas in Tuolumne County that could be a 10.
Okay. So that's confusing because...
Well, we have the overall rating, but like Josh is saying, if you're like more than five miles from a station, or you don't have close access to a adequate water supply, you could be in the 9 or 10 area.
So is that something that is actually like a documented like type of information where I could say what is the ISO rating for my house, or is that something that's a movable, subjective thing that when you're getting insurance they look at it and go you're about a 10, or it's actually
To answer your first question, in the districts, typically they're going to be the 5Y, 5X. In Columbia, Tuolumne, Tween Hart, Sonora City, there won't be any 10s necessarily because I think they're all pretty well covered. The 10 specifically applies to county fire.
Mm-hmm.
So you get, let's say, way outside Cottonwood Road. You got a house out there. They're 10 miles from.
Yeah, that's going to be different.
That's where the 10's going to apply.
So do we have a map of that, or can we get that information? It'd be interesting to see like a GIS map that had red for
basically
10s
it's any house or
and
structure that's 5 miles outside of a county station, which is the ones that Mr. Pedro mentioned on the list. If you're 5 miles outside of that station, you're going to get that higher number.
Okay. So would that be where, like, Mr. Fryer and these guys, they're county fire, and I think they're pretty far from the station. I don't know how many miles it is, but they're within, like, Tuolumne's boundary, the 5 miles. So is that where looking at, like, annexing could be a benefit to those types of situations?
Well, that depends on his individual insurance company, because it appears that some insurance companies are looking. ISO will recognize the automatic aid agreements, but it's individual insurance companies that may not. So if any specific insurance company recognizes the automatic aid agreement, they recognize that even though he lives in the county, that Tuolumne City
they're going to respond, yeah.
And that it's a cooperative effort. If the insurance company declines to accept the automatic aid agreement, and then the rating will change.
Well, I'll just finish this up real quick, and then we can get into the questions and direction, from us. But this slide was just to give you a perspective and the community a perspective that our ratings are actually pretty good. It's getting to more of what you're saying, Evan. It's more of these folks that are on the
fringes.
The fringes, that are the ones that are not getting the good rating. Now, don't intend to go through this, but I'm just flashing on the screen. You had this included in your backup package. This was the detailed rating that the Tuolumne County Fire Department got from ISO, and we definitely want to go back and take a look at that. I think Chief White will speak to that, of what we can do to try and even further improve, the county fire department's ISO, rating, and hopefully that'll have a positive impact on people's insurance. Then the last part of the potential solutions was the projects. What can we do project-wise? Improve the ingress-egress of specific communities, enhance local water systems, targeted fuel reductions, continue to support things like the Highway 108 Fire Safe Council, SWIFT, planning mapping, efforts, pursue funding such as a state responsibility area fee dollars to help with these kinds of prevention efforts, which you just recall just a few weeks ago the board approved such a grant application. We've also we've pursued grants for water system improvements, and all the stuff will help collect. And probably the most important thing, just to we really need to get from people is we need data to support legislative and regulatory changes.
From our constituents.
From the residents of Tuolumne County, if you're having problems, we need specific, detailed information on where are you, what problems are you having, why, so that if we go and pursue this with anyone, with it's the insurance companies, with ISO, if it's with the state insurance commissioner's office, we need that kind of specific to nail down what exactly the problem is. And I'm emphasizing this because, we've been asking this for some time now, and we still probably have less than a dozen detailed instances that have been provided to follow up on.
Okay, so to make this simple for the user, could we use Tracy Riggs, our OES coordinator, as a single point of contact?
Actually, just to call, if they just call, just keep it really simple, the county administrative office.
Okay.
And we'll just take the information. The people are really going to end up getting it is going to be the fire.
Well, I understand, but when a constituent complains to me, I need to have a single point that I'm going to refer my people to. Right. John's going to refer his people. Evan's going to
County Administrator's Office,
okay.
533-5511.
Okay.
And we'll get it to who needs to get it.
And in writing is better too if we have letters or emails.
Yes, and opinions, hearsay is not helpful. We need specifics.
Yeah.
To follow up on. So that's, I believe that was the last of my presentation. I wanted Josh and his folks to speak into this.
So for the ISO rating, R55Y, if you look back, if we could go back real fast to the score, right? Go forward again. One more. There we go. If you look at the bottom of the left-hand column, you see we got a 56.40. We're going to be readdressing. We've already reached out to ISO, and we want to open that up and look at their study a little bit more in depth and do an appeal on some of the scoring. Again, it's just one evaluator that comes out and gets a lot of documentation from the water systems, from the ECC, as well as from different programs within the fire department. We want to make sure that they had the absolute best data when they came up with these calculations. If we can raise that up, 3.6 points, we could get up into a Class 4, and that could be a significant change for the county. We've been at Class 5 for a long time. So that's what we're going to be working on. Also, some of the other fundamentals, the CAL mapping. So we talk about the brush modelings and all of the fuel reduction that our fire safe councils and individuals have been working on throughout the county. CAL FIRE has a CAL mapping software program so that we can input all of that data. I've been working with our fire engineering program down in Sacramento, and what we're looking at doing is putting all of that data into one location on the server so that insurance companies can reach out, because the insurance companies are now contracting with their own GIS companies to do the same thing. They want to look at the brush modeling and they want to see where the largest risk is. Well, I want us to get credit for the good work that has been done in Tuolumne County. Give that to them, and that they can add that layer to their GIS maps and take that all into account. The fire engineering program also meets monthly with the insurance commissioner's office, and so they're going to be asking the insurance company commissioner's office to be reaching out to the insurance companies to make that, it's up to the insurance commissioner as far as the mandates, but we definitely want to be pushing that forward, that the insurance companies are recognizing the hard work that's done in Tuolumne County and other counties throughout the state of California. Some of the other things that, as for the dispatching the closest resources and modifying the dispatch protocols, I'll shift to Chief Avila.
Paul Avila, Tuolumne County Fire. Most recently, we, myself along with the other districts and city departments met actually last Thursday and discussed the response plan that the board has put on the top of their priority. We're making great headway with this. But basically, in moving forward, we need to know where each department is willing to go. And we all have a board to answer to, so all the districts and the city is going to go back to their respective departments and determine where they're comfortable in going. Once we determine that, then we could come up with our map and move forward with the closest response. Some other topics that were discussed is reducing the response plans. Currently, we have roughly about 1,200 response plans. So whenever each district has their own response plans for a structure fire, vehicle fire, medical aid, etc. we're going to reduce those down to about 10. So we want to come up with a standard response plan for the entire county, and which will in turn move into the next topic, which would be dispatching the closest resource. There's some districts, I guess, wishing to maintain the agency having jurisdiction responding. So we're in discussion with that right now. But I think overall, we're going to do what's best for the community and the people of Tuolumne County, and push for the closest resource. And basically, our response plans are going to stay the same as far as equipment responding, with the exception of probably medical aids. Maybe just the one engine and the ambulance. Any questions?
What's our timeline?
We are going to meet the first week of, I'm going to try to meet the first week of January. It's been pretty tough getting everybody in the same room at the same time, with fire season, other commitments. But on Thursday, we all agreed probably the first week of January we would be good. We should have close to a finished product then.
Are you meeting with chiefs mostly?
Yes.
Okay, and they're going back to their boards? And
Yes.
So I guess the way I understand their process is get everybody to agree where they're willing to go, first of all. Then does that have to translate back into MOUs and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, with any change, we'll basically we'll update the auto aid agreement.
Yeah.
And we have a countywide auto aid agreement, in which I think it's time to readdress that. So.
And then the dispatch, all the architecture of the dispatch system, then you guys would go back and update that, and then have a date whenever that would. Do you have any kind of a goal or a target for that? I know we've been working on this for a while, and I'm glad you're here now to take on the task.
I think both Chief White and myself, we want this off our plate, and
I want it off your plate too.
Yesterday. Realistically, I'm thinking between each department going to their respective boards or councils, I guess realistic would probably be right around March.
Okay.
I think.
That's workable. So you think by summertime, before fire season, we'll have it fired up, and hopefully, is that a reasonable?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Right now, our ECC chief is actually working on response plans.
Yeah.
So as we're waiting to hear back from other districts, we're still moving forward with the process.
Sure. Just going to volunteer. You're itching to talk. Let me finish one more point. When you're dealing with districts and you're dealing with boards and personalities and chiefs and territory and all this stuff, it's not always easy, and that tends to be the thing that becomes an obstacle in getting something like this done. So use the supervisors if you need to help, interface with the districts and the chiefs. And I know I'd be happy to do that, and I'm sure my colleagues would as well. So don't be afraid to pull us in to help meet with those guys.
I'll leave it with one last comment on this, is that it was a really positive meeting with everybody in attendance.
Yeah. Thanks, Paul.
Just also wanted to point out that the California Department of Insurance website allows for going in and plugging in different data models and compare premium amounts throughout different counties. I went into and did Tuolumne. I used a base system of a $400,000 home, age 16 to 25 years of age, and then did that same exact parameter for Mariposa. I went all through Calaveras, Amador, El Dorado, Placer, Nevada counties. And as far as the cost of the premiums, we are actually on the lower end of the cost of the premiums. Now, obviously, this is a snapshot, that they're not taking in all of the other factors that are identified in the PowerPoint. But it does show that Tuolumne County is looking good there.
Yeah, but to that, this has been identified in RCRC, and I'll defer to Randy to confirm or deny it, but this is a problem up and down the foothills. It's not just Tuolumne County. So when you're comparing us to other foothill counties, that doesn't necessarily solve the problem for me. With the, as you guys know, with the increasing frequency, severity, and size of wildland fires in the foothills, this is becoming a dramatic problem everywhere in the foothills. So just comparing us to other foothill counties doesn't get it. I appreciate the comment, and I'm glad we're on the low end. But low end of a really high problem is still a pretty good-sized problem.
And I would add, there's, in general in Tuolumne County, in our cores, I think people are good. I think it's, like we talked about, the fringe, the outliers, the people on the borders that are really getting hammered. And in a lot of cases, those, just because they're on the edge, they're really, not that far away from everyone else and that different to where it justifies, I think, the extreme rates and, the situations we keep hearing about. But that's where we need to target.
And Evan?
Sherry?
Well, another group that I keep hearing from, and we need to not be dealing with anecdotal information, but it's our seniors. And so I'm hear from them quite a bit. And so I'm going to reach out to them and ask them to be providing some very specific information to our CAO office. But
I've talked with Area 12 folks too.
Area 12.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So just a comment.
Did you have one, Randy? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, several comments. One is, in fact, what Supervisor Rutherford said is true. When I bring that up at RCRC, they're all experiencing, all the foothill counties and the mountain counties, the forested counties are experiencing the same kind of thing. One guy tells me, I've been with the same insurance company for 30 years, now they want to cancel my insurance in this county. It's a serious problem. And with our ratings, I mean, this, I just got to say this for the record, I just feel an increased urgency on developing a plan to maintain the Jamestown station. This is not for the sake of Jamestown, it's for the sake of the whole county, because it spreads the whole deal. It's on a safer grant right now, which expires, I think, in October of next year. That's a little bit frightening to me, that how that could impact things. You said get our numbers up. Well, we got to maintain that to do that. And I think we got to get credit for everything we do. And I don't know how to do that. And I don't know how to advise my constituents when they call me and say things that, I'm losing my insurance going up. And I've done all the right things. I mean, some people aren't waiting for the fire safe councils. They're doing the right things. Now, that impacts the wildland fire, impacts in terms of risk. I mean, I don't know what, it doesn't do much, I guess, for an internally generated fire in the house. But I've also got some information and questions whether we get credit for our Amador plans that we have in the county in these ratings. Do we? All of them? Between Hart and Blanchard and all of them? We just got to make sure that the good things we get credit for. And I'm nervous that we don't. I mean, the gentleman over here who came last time and told us about what he did on his property, the insurance companies aren't paying attention. I don't know how he puts pressure on his insurance company. But I think it's a collective problem with the county, and we can be individually taken down, and it's the divide and conquer rule. We just got to have this is not a destination again, it's a journey. We got to continually stay on this.
This is a really good presentation. I really appreciate your guys' work on it. And I just want to make sure as we move forward, we actually get the action items rolling that we've got up here. We've got some good ideas on things that I think can make a difference. And it just highlights there's no silver bullet that's going to solve the problem, unfortunately, and it's not necessarily something that's within our authority. But the ingress-egress projects, I think, and that's something that I think Bev, I'm glad you're in the audience. You hear that? Those are some things that we can work on. The fire safe stuff, the mapping, and that's something actually for Bev. with CRA. Does our GIS, do we have access to that information, and can we put those layers on our maps? Can we do that?
If you don't have access now,
Can
it's
we-
public information, so I can just route the county GIS to
Put them in touch with Larry,
CAL FIRE.
probably. Yeah.
Yep.
I think that would be really good. I had a couple questions just about county policy when it comes to. I don't know if within our general plan where we address any of these types of issues. I think this is something. It's being highlighted, and we're experiencing it to a more degree than we probably have in the past because of things like the rim fire and these big catastrophic fires that are right in our face. But policy-wise, I think we need to make sure that we engrave this stuff into those key documents.
Your safety elements and your water elements are the two that come to mind where you'd want to, as that progresses.
I think, let's just pay special attention to that. And I know as we went through the biological resources stuff, we talked about that with open space, making sure that you can, within open space zoning areas, do defensible space, that there's provisions for that, and that it's balanced. But as far as, the bigger picture, having strategic fuel breaks, maybe highlighting that within the general plan, having a GIS map that says, below Twain Hart, that's a critical place to have a fuel break, and we've done that. Now we need to maintain it, and having it shown on there. Same thing with Groveland.
I got a comment when you're
Go ahead.
You done?
No, but for now I will be.
All right. What's the glaring thing out there is the funding. We're not going to be able to do a lot of stuff. That's going to make the big difference unless we decide where we're going to fund it. The fire station in Jamestown, the increase in the amount of equipment that we have for the fire stations, all of those things. So let's not lose sight. Somewhere we're going to really have to decide what we're going to do and how we're going to go about trying to fund it. I really believe that the SRA fee should be returned back to the counties in some way for that type of funding. It's not CAL FIRE's fault that you guys are saddled with that, but that's a lot of money going out for every parcel in the county, that if we had a return of that, we wouldn't have a funding issue. So, again, we're addressing it, but can't lose sight of the funding.
Totally.
Mr. Chair, just to wrap for my part is, we've already described a lot of things that we're already doing, such as the auto aid stuff and the dispatch system, the grants, to do some of these things. Doing the review of the what we can positively influence our ISO rating. But I just want to emphasize again, we really need people to call in with those details. If they're having problems, call the county administrator's office, 533-5511. We'll create something, put it on the website to make that easier for people to report.
Can you make a form or something?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
That's what we need to do.
Because that'll be a uniform. We'll get what we need.
Yeah.
And what I'm envisioning is there's some things we can help here locally, with, but some of this stuff I suspect we're going to need to go to the State Insurance Commissioner's office using RCRC, CSAC, and others, potentially ISO. But we're not going to get anywhere if we don't have that very specific detail, not secondhand information, not opinions, but very detailed examples.
Very good. Is there any other questions? I want to take public comment at this time. Give everybody a chance that's come to talk about this.
Board of Supervisors. I'm Tom Day, 928-5708. I live at 17780 Saddle Drive, Tuolumne. I was emailed a copy of this fire insurance presentation, and I want to thank you very much for it. I received everything but about 2 pages that shows the changes to the new ISO ratings. As I am not trained in the report's determinations, I have no judgment. For the record, I want to give you some background. I am with Allied Insurance in Tuolumne, now 7 years. My homeowner's insurance ranged from about $850 a year to about $950 a year for the first 5 years. Last December 2013, it went to $2,400 for the year. And this December 2014, it's now approximately $2,900 for the year. Note, nothing has changed in this time to the property, no claims, etc. While I hadn't read the report yet, I did inquire with a couple other insurance companies as to what might be another option for me for insurance. They tell me they cannot write me insurance because I am in the red zone. The first thing they asked me for was my address. No, nothing about the house, construction, or anything. It was, what's my address? They key it into the computer, come back, oops, sorry, can't write you insurance. All they can do is make an application to Lloyd's of London, because I went from 8B to 10, and that's ISO classification wildfire. Well, while I know ISO is not everything, as we've heard today, and I've, in all my talking with other individuals, ISO is a very key parameter, and I don't disagree that other insurance companies, some use it, some don't, and there's other factors in their business decisions. In spite of this, I had done extensive clearing of my property. I had installed 10,000 gallons of water storage with a 2-inch tap with a sign in front of it, a 100 psi water pump, 500 feet of 2-inch fire hose, and nozzles for fire suppression should it ever be needed. In addition, I note we all pay property taxes that cover firefighting resources. My taxes are currently about $4,200 a year. This inequity is not right. If the new Insurance Service Office ISO ratings are not corrected soon, I believe the following ripple effect will take place. I believe this inequity will affect a great number of homeowners and renters within Tuolumne County, especially those of us retired. I believe this inequity will affect many owners wishing to sell, as their property will have a higher cost of ownership, discouraging new buyers coming into the area. I believe this inequity will affect realtors, salespersons, sales when disclosing this additional burden. I believe this inequity will in turn affect values of property, home tax assessment. Again, I have with me, and I gladly share with you, pictures that I have brought of my property. Excuse me. I have a Google map here of what I've done with my property, and I've got 8 pictures of all the areas I've cleared. Now, in addition, I would like to invite all fire captains, all interested board members, if they would like to come see for themselves what I have done over the past 12 years extensively to my property since I moved here in 2002. And I want to thank you again for the consideration of this matter. And if I may make a suggestion, and that is, how do you get feedback? For example, I've got a neighbor who wasn't able to come today, but he emailed me what his numbers are. But what I'd like to suggest is, if the Board of Supervisors can see their way clear, put a small ad in the Democrat, put an ad on My Motherlode, and ask people, and with a specific URL or a phone number of where to go. Because I have a hunch, if this becomes newsworthy, it's going to get attention, because it's going to affect a lot of people in the county. I personally believe, as I studied more and more about the ISO influence to insurance companies, while my local, I'm going to use the word seller of insurance, they cannot change policy. They don't write policy. They are salespeople. They're selling them a product that's available for them in this, to me, in this area. Consequently, what I'm looking for is that in the studies that are done, and even I look at this study that's done here, it's 2009 was the latest date on some of this stuff. I think there needs to be some updated information. I think whether it's CAL FIRE or Tuolumne County Fire, I personally believe needs to go challenge this whole ISO process, because apparently most insurance companies refer to this. And their the ISO is put together back in New Jersey. And I feel strongly that, for me, this needs to be challenged because of all, like I said, the ripple effects that I just mentioned. And so the bottom line of all this is, I know it's going to take time, but I think it needs to get started. And I'm going to give you one example. My neighbor next door to me, his rates were running in the 2,000 range for about 4 or 5 years. In April of 2013, they jumped to 3,000. And I'm just rounding off his numbers. In July of 2013, it jumped to $3,600. And just August of this year, it jumped to $6,900. And enough said. At any rate, I won't take any more of your time. I want to thank you for your consideration in this matter. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Gil Fryer, and I live on Yosemite Road. I pay $900 a year fire insurance now. I went and checked this with other insurance agencies, and they're all coming out with the same price. Like, could be price fixed, but $3,000. My home is 2.5 miles from Tuolumne City Fire Station, and I'm 3.5 miles from CAL FIRE on Tuolumne Road. The fire station assigned to our area is 6 to 7 miles from my house. It's located in Sonora on Mona Way by Sears. This has put me in a higher bracket for higher price premiums. I can't understand why they can't use Tuolumne City to protect our area. And I checked with the fire people down there, and they said that their limit ends at Tuolumne Road, which is two blocks from where the firehouse is. Now, they can come out as a second source, but as a primary source, we've got to depend on Mona Way, Sonora, to get all the way out to our place. The county should redesign their areas of responsibility so our homes are serviced by the fire station closest to our property. I am being penalized because the Mona Way station is 5+ miles, and as I said before, puts me in a different category. And here I got a station 2.5 miles away. I have been told by 2 insurance agencies that the large insurance companies will keep their present customers in the county but are not interested in expanding business in the county. One of the main reasons is the U.S. government owns more than 60% of the land up here, and they have and they pay no taxes or fees to the county, the fire protection for the fire protection of their property. 2 questions I have: can we assign more areas to CAL FIRE and enlarge their areas of responsibility? My next one is there any way we can receive grants or money from either state or federal government for the services we are required to do and to protect their property, their forests? Thank you.
Do you guys answer those questions or just address them?
Well, as far as if you can run through the questions, I remember the one about CAL FIRE taking over the U.S. Forest Service responsibility, and I can't do that.
Well, I know you can't, but I'm looking at the future. Maybe I'm wondering, can't we go to the U.S. government or the state and ask them for grants or money to protect their property?
We'll take that into consideration.
It would be easier to build a fire break around the forest.
Yeah, but never give up.
Yeah. Thanks, Gil.
Any other questions?
No. Is there other public comment? So I'll bring it back. The last bit of direction I'd like to give, I suppose, is just having to do with what these gentlemen talked about, which is the boundaries. And we talked about it a little bit already. There's a couple issues, the ISO ratings, and I guess that doesn't always apply. Several years ago when you did your fire first responder study, we did look at some of those things. And this is a difficult thing to deal with because you have territory issues and you have, turf wars and you have money. And the way these boundaries are set up, that determines who gets what and how much and all that good stuff. So it's touchy. But I don't think that means that we don't have to deal with it and we shouldn't look at it and consider those things, because we are here to provide a service to the public and do what's right to protect our citizens. So I think that needs to be readdressed, and it needs to be done in a integrated way. The entire county, I think, needs to be looked at. I've had people from Columbia, from Tuolumne, from Miwok, from Jamestown, from all over the place talk about their boundaries. Every little district, I'm sure, would love to grow, and by doing that, Tuolumne County would, get hit, and our revenues would get hit. But it needs to be looked at. I think that potentially getting a consultant or somebody that deals with those things. I know LAFCO. Who's our John? Are you LAFCO?
And Randy.
And Randy. So this is homework for you guys. I think. I think you'd be involved with the details of it, and there's a lot of nitty gritty, and it's something that needs to be done. So I would direct, I guess, Craig to work with these guys and maybe start working on an RFP for somebody.
I think we need a independent fire study. Okay. We've talked about that before.
Yeah.
That would be something to move forward on. We have several items there that really identify what we need to be doing, and I think we just continue with those action items as the proper course.
I'm just envisioning listing those out again and putting people and dates, by
Yes.
them.
That's what we
which will
want.
also reflect priorities.
Yes.
Right.
You can't just go do everything at once. So we'll,
Yep.
but try to
Why not?
move it forward.
If the philosophy goes with the color, could you help issue some red fire trucks to the Forest Service?
Yeah, right. So, no, this is a priority, and we deal with a lot of things, and from day to day, I think in a lot of cases this would trump a lot of those things. So, appreciate the presentation.
I just want to emphasize what the gentleman said, Mr. Day, I think, said about his friend. $6,900 a year. That's $575 a month. That's more than $19 a day.
And if you got a mortgage, you got to have insurance.
Yep.
We're pricing people out of the county.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I believe we have another appointment to deal with here.
11:30.
Yeah, let's do our number one.
This is consideration of adopting a resolution commending Michael Knowles on his retirement as a district attorney after 32 years of county service.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Chair, on both of your 11:30 appointments, the staff memos closely model the resolutions. The first one, I think, I just stepped out, so we just read the one for Mr. Knowles.
Yes.
So I would recommend your board go ahead and adopt that resolution and be read to him.
Can I get a motion?
I move to adopt.
A second. Public comment. Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries 5-0. Okay. There he is. I'll give him a chance to sit down. So I'm going to read this.
Maybe have the vice chair. Maybe have the vice chair present those two.
Sure.
When you go up.
Yeah. All right. So we just approved this resolution, and I'm going to read it to you. Whereas at the end of his term of office on January 5th, 2015 at noon, District Attorney Mike Knowles will be retiring from a career in law enforcement spanning nearly 39 years. 6.5 of those years were spent in the Sacramento DA's office, with the remaining 32 years in Tuolumne County's DA's office. During his time in the Tuolumne County DA's office, Mr. Knowles served as a deputy DA, assistant DA, acting DA, and the appointed DA. Mr. Knowles was appointed as DA on February 7th, 2012, due to the office's need for experience and continuity in leadership during a critical time in the county's history. And whereas some of the most notable law enforcement teams that Mr. Knowles was involved in during his career in Tuolumne County include the Multidisciplinary Interview Team, also known as the Kids Interview Team, Drug Court, Fire Investigation Unit, Tri-County Narcotics Task Force, which was also ultimately replaced by the TNT. There was a Sexual Assault Response Team, Child Abuse Prevention Council, and Victim Witness Unit. And whereas, in addition to the above, Mr. Knowles was supported or served as the lead prosecutor in some of the office's most difficult cases over the past 3 decades. The types of cases have run the gamut: sexual predators, child abuse and molestation, arson, narcotics, single and double homicides, and in one murder case where the convicted criminal still remains on death row. This represents one of the most emotional experiences in Mr. Knowles' career. And whereas as an administrator with the DA's office, Mr. Knowles has played key roles in several important transitions: court consolidation from 5 justice courts to a municipal court to a unified superior court system, longtime DA Eric Dew Temple becoming a superior court judge, relocation of the DA's office from the historic courthouse to its current location on North Washington Street, longtime DA Donald Sagerstrom becoming a superior court judge, and implementation of AB 109, also known as law enforcement realignment. And whereas Mr. Knowles has dealt with much of the darkness that comes with the law enforcement field, but has also enjoyed his role as a protector of victims and lighter moments such as playing McGruff and Crime Dog at the Infant Child Enrichment Services Children's Fair and working with the Victim Witness Unit. It's sponsored Christmas cookies at the annual community Christmas party. And whereas through it all, Mr. Knowles is proud of how the DA's office has adapted to change over the years while maintaining a high standard of service to the community. He has enjoyed the good people, hard work, and cooperation he has experienced with all of his law enforcement and community partners. When talking about Tuolumne County, Mr. Knowles has stated that it is the people's sense of community that makes us different. And whereas Mr. Knowles is a passionate individual who has given his all to the defense of victims of crime, it is now time for him to redirect and focus that passion and enjoy life with his family. Now, therefore, be it resolved as the Tuolumne County Board of Supervisors wishes to thank and commend District Attorney Michael Knowles for his 32 years of exemplary service to the County of Tuolumne and its residents, and be it further resolved that the Board of Supervisors wishes Mike and his family great happiness and enjoyment in retirement. So, Mike, thank you so much. You've made wonderful contributions to Tuolumne County. We'll present this to you.
Don't we have to formally approve that?
We did.
We voted on it.
Oh, yeah. We signed it. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I just like to, well, what can I say other than just, this is a grateful and humbling moment. I firmly believe that Tuolumne County has the right to have an identity that's separate and apart from everyone. And I think that it's our collaboration and our cooperation, and it is that togetherness and sense of community that sets us apart. And to that, I would just say thank you, Board of Supervisors, for this honor. And I would challenge each of you to please fight the good fight, because just because somebody else wants to make us different, we don't have to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, come on up.
Well, while he's coming up, I would like to make a comment. Ms. Knowles, 39 years. That is absolutely remarkable. 32 years in Tuolumne County. What can you say? Thank you isn't enough. but thank you, and all the best in retirement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Michael? I've had the opportunity and privilege of knowing Mike Knowles for over 27 years. He is a man of honor. He's a man of integrity. He's always been a friend to law enforcement, and more importantly, he's always been a friend to me. He's been a friend and an advocate for victims. I will miss him greatly. This is a man who always fought the good fight. He was a man that we did not agree on, but we would always come out knowing that we would do the right thing for those that were the victims. Winston Churchill said this. I don't want to mess it up, so I'm going to actually read it. Mike, now this is not the end. It is not even the beginning of the end, but it is perhaps the end of the beginning. For 27 years, Mike has fought the good fight. Great sacrifices, more than you and I will ever know. The toll that took on him to fight for those that were less fortunate. And Mike is a great man, and I will sorely miss him as a person. And he knows that I love him deeply. I did get Mike, or we at the sheriff's office, did get Mike something. And this not only comes from this sheriff, but it comes from Sheriff Barry that you had to work with, Sheriff Coang, Sheriff Nutting, Sheriff Rogers, and even, it's hard to say, Sheriff Mealy. So come here, my friend. This is dedicated to Tuolumne County District Attorney Michael L. Knowles, to a man who championed the fight for the victims and was a leader not only in the justice community, but also a leader in the community he served for over 31 years. You are a true friend, and you will be missed by all whom you have served. Signed, James Mealy.
Michael, I'd just like to echo Supervisor Hanvelt's comments. 39 years of doing anything is a remarkable feat. 39 years of doing what you had to do is absolutely laudable. Thank you very much for your service to this county. And most of all, best of luck going forward. Enjoy your life. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. That was very nice. So, this time, could the clerk please read our second 130, or 1130?
Consideration of adopting a resolution commending Ken Catano on his retirement as the assessor recorder after 36 years of county service.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
Second.
Public comment, call for question, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now that this resolution is approved, I'll take the time to read it. Whereas, at the end of his term of office on January 5th, 2015 at noon, Assessor Recorder Ken Catano will be retiring from a career in county appraisal and assessment work spanning nearly 41 years. 4.5 of those years were spent in the Merced County Assessor's Office, with the remaining 36 years in the Tuolumne County Assessor Recorder's Office. And whereas during his time in the Tuolumne County Assessor Recorder's Office, Mr. Catano has served as an Appraiser 3, Chief Appraiser, Assistant Assessor, and Assessor Recorder. Mr. Catano was elected as Assessor Recorder in November 2006 and took office in January 8th, 2007. And whereas with regard to his work in the Assessor Recorder's Office, Mr. Catano may be best remembered for his skill in assessing the value of properties, uncanny accuracy in estimating future tax roll values. This was particularly true and important during the Great Recession years, and cooperation with other departments, whatever the need, stabilizing presence and steady management of many important staff traditions, and use of technology for the scanning of department records to improve security, searchability, and overall staff efficiency. And whereas Mr. Catano's honesty and calm and disarming demeanor have served him and his entire office well, as together they navigate through the difficult waters of the Great Recession while maintaining a high level of service to their customers. And whereas Mr. Catano is extraordinarily proud of his staff and credit them with anything good that has come out of his office, Mr. Catano is always humble to a fault. And whereas, given the above, one may wonder what the real secret is to becoming such an accomplished public servant. Looking at Mr. Catano's past, it seems to involve becoming a salesman for the Webster's Dictionary Corporation for a few years before launching into one's career. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Tuolumne County Board of Supervisors wishes to thank and commend Assessor Recorder Ken Catano for his 36 years of exemplary service to the county of Tuolumne and its residents. And be it therefore further resolved that the Board of Supervisors wishes Ken and his family great happiness and enjoyment in retirement. So, once again, congratulations, Ken. And you have been an exemplary public servant and a good role model. And you leave this office in good hands. And we wish you the best in retirement.
I have to agree with Mike that this is a humbling experience, and I only want to make one correction to that resolution, and it wasn't the Webster Dictionary Company. Sorry, Craig, you got that one wrong. It was actually the Grolier Encyclopedia Company. But I do want to say thank you to the people of Tuolumne County. Number one, it is a great community to be a part of. Thanks again to the members of the board, both past and present. Also to Mr. Pedro for the many years that he's put in. He's not quite ready to retire yet, but he has said he's a little envious of me, I think, because he still has to keep on working. I do have a lot of fond memories after 36 years here. I recall just the other day talking with Kevin Townsend, who just recently retired and was here for most of those 36 years that I worked here. And we remember working in the old courthouse in the mezzanine area when he used to scrape his head on the light fixtures because of the low ceilings back in the days when everybody smoked. Some very nasty air in there in those days. Again, thanks to the staff that I've had to work with. They've done everything that I've ever asked of them and more. They've been wonderful to work with. In the past, I had a lot of other employees that I worked with, some that are not with us anymore. I miss them, especially a couple that I worked with, like Chris Larson and Dennis Grutzmacher, guys that were really friends as well as co-workers. So last but not least, I also want to tell you about a fond memory of this building, because this is where I met my wife. Yeah, believe it or not, on the third floor. My wife, Christina, was working for an outside agency, and that's where I first got to meet her. So I can never forget this building, that's for sure. And it's like I said, it's a good memory. And
That's TMI.
Okay. So again, thank you very much for having the opportunity to work with you and with the people of Tuolumne County. And we're getting ready to move on to another chapter in our lives, and looking forward to that. So thank you again.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
If I could jump in. Just before anyone escapes, we're going to have some lunch afterwards to spend some time with these gentlemen. But before they leave, and I know the board's going to want to chime in here, I just want to get this out. I'm sitting here with Supervisor Hanvelt and going, oh my gosh, look at what's happening here. Here's 80 years.
80 years.
80 years of public service, exemplary public service, 80 years of vast, experience, expertise, dedicated service, to your respective, constituents, which is the county as a whole, truly. Mike, truly, your passion for what you've done and do is immeasurable. When I look at you, I just think of, it states it in the resolution about your passion for victim rights. That's when we talk about it, it's not about prosecution so much. That's part of it for sure, but it's protecting the victims of crime and standing for them, and that's really remarkable. I think it's a perfect way that someone in your position should look at the world, and you've fought the good fight and done a great job. And it is time to stand down, chill out, and stand down and really take that passion and direct it towards your family. And Ken, you've been an absolute pleasure to work with, over the years. You're so quiet, to so many people, but those who work with you know what you do quietly and very humbly, by the way. You've been more instrumental in getting through this great recession with some of the partnership work that we do in the world of finance. I don't know how we could have gotten through it, without you and your steady hand, throughout this period. So you're going to be truly missed. Gentlemen, well done, and thank you.
Randy?
Yeah, he said, think about what's happening here. 80 years. 80 years between these two men. How do you spend that kind of time doing what you do? You have to be committed. You have to have a passion. You have to be dedicated. Your family takes a lot of second place time because you are committed. The institutional knowledge that we're going to lose, you can't even calculate it. You can't even think about it. These men have seen things and done things that aren't even recorded, but all for the good of the people they serve. It is absolutely amazing when I think about what's happening today. Thank you isn't enough. Wishing them well is something we all do from the bottom of our hearts. But we're losing something pretty big here today. And gentlemen, I can only say thank you, wish you the best. But you being missed is understating what's really happening here today. You are treasures, both of you. Thank you very much.
Good words. Carl?
Yeah, I think the measure of anybody is in any position is that they leave the organization better than they found it, and I think both these gentlemen have done that in spades. And I think we all, not just the board, but the staff and the county, all thank you tremendously for your contributions to our government and our services to the people. And again, best wishes Best wishes for you, not just you two, but your families as well. And you get them back, okay? So take advantage of it. Thank you.
Shared a couple words with both the gentlemen when we were giving the plaques out, but I think that I can't add too much. Randy said a lot, but personally, you guys are fine gentlemen, and it's going to be hard to be replaced.
The only thing that I would add is I hope you're still going to call Tuolumne County your home, and I'm going to look forward to working with you in some other capacity in the future. So, thank you for all of your service and everything you've done.
All right. Is there any other public comment? Anybody like to say anything? Kevin?
I'll make this quick. I had the opportunity and the privilege of spending 35 of the 36 years that Ken worked with the Tuolumne County Assessor's Office, working with him. And as an employee, you couldn't have asked for more. And for the taxpayers, as an advocate for the taxpayers, he always had their back. With both Mike and Ken, you're in football terms, you're losing a couple of franchise players here. As far as Ken goes, in baseball terms, well, he's a San Francisco Giants fan, and that's the only bad thing I can say about him. So.
I don't know. I think that's pretty good, high praise.
Is there anything else? All right. Well, thank you all for being here, and you guys are going to be missed. So yeah, party in the lobby, meeting recess for lunch.
Party on.
Can handle. Yep. Calm down, ladies. We got business to attend to. Okay, we're back from all the fun and games.
Sugar, right? Could you break that up?
It's time to get our agenda completed. So could the clerk please read our 1:30 appointment?
Public hearing to consider adopting an ordinance amending Chapter 3.40.010 A6 and Q2 to the Tuolumne County Ordinance Code related to agriculture, commissioner, and weights and measures fees.
All right.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I'm Vicki Helmar, Agricultural Commissioner. The Agricultural Commissioner's Office is proposing minor amendments to 2 of its fees. Both amendments are being proposed in order to correct past department practices that were never officially approved by the Board of Supervisors. The first fee I'd like to discuss is the structural pest control registration fee. Prior to 2008, Section 15204 of the California Food and Ag Code established structural pest control notification registration fees at $10. The Tuolumne County Board of Supervisors adopted this fee as part of their fee ordinance. In January of 2008, Section 15204.5 of the Food and Ag Code became effective. This section separated Branch 1 structural pest control businesses from Branch 2 and 3 businesses. Section 15204.5 allows for a $25 registration fee that must be adopted by the Board of Supervisors. Section 15204, Branch 2 and 3 fees remained at $10. Beginning July 2008, staff began charging Branch 1 operators the $25 registration fee without seeking the required board approval. In 2012, when it was discovered that the fee had not been approved by the Board of Supervisors, the department reverted to charging the $10 fee to Branch 1 operators as allowed for by the county ordinance. In analyzing the process for county to register Branch 1 structural pest control businesses, it was determined that a total of 35 minutes of staff time was needed at a cost of $29.52, more than the $25 registration fee. Tuolumne County has no businesses that perform Branch 1 structural pest control. There are 3 to 4 businesses from other areas of California where the fee is $25, that perform branch 1 work here. Having a different fee schedule has proved to be confusing to those out-of-county businesses that work here. Although the fiscal impact of adopting the $25 registration fee is very small, only a $45 to $60 increase in annual revenues, I am proposing this fee amendment for consistency with surrounding counties' registration fees, to avoid confusion of those out-of-county businesses that perform work here, and to better recover the cost of processing Branch 1 structural pest control registrations. The second fee I'd like to discuss is the commercial device registration fees. Section 12240 of the California Business and Profession Code provides authority for county boards of supervisors to charge an annual registration fee to recover the cost of inspecting or testing the commercial weighing and measuring devices located within their counties. In September 2006, the Tuolumne County Board of Supervisors adopted ordinance number 1858, establishing the annual registration fee for commercial weighing and measuring devices to be the maximum fee allowed per Business and Professions Code 12240. The code specifies the device registration fee consists of a business location fee, a Department of Food and Agriculture administrative fee, and a device fee as specified for the different kinds of devices. Many years ago, the department decided to exempt certified producers selling at farmers markets from the device registration fee. There is no record that this exemption was ever approved by the Board of Supervisors. While the original intent of the exemption was to help producers who brought their single portable device into the Agricultural Commissioner's office for annual inspections, this exemption only applied to one small business sector. In order to be fair, such an exemption should apply to any small business owner with a portable device that is inspected at the Agricultural Commissioner's office. It is not unusual for counties to establish reduced fees for small businesses. Out of the 16 Sacramento Valley, Mother Lode, and San Joaquin Valley counties responding to a survey, 15 have reduced fees for small businesses as long as the devices are inspected at the Ag Commissioner's office. Most often, the businesses are exempted from paying the location fee of $100 and are charged only the specific device and the state administrative fee. I propose that Tuolumne County exempt any business owner with 2 or fewer portable devices inspected at the Agricultural Commissioner's office from the business location portion of the device registration fee. Currently, there are 36 businesses that could qualify for this exemption. 7 of these businesses currently pay no fees and would now be charged the device fee plus the state administrative fee. 29 of these businesses are currently paying the $100 location fee, as well as the device fee and the state administrative fee, and would now be exempted from the location fee. The proposed exemption would result in a $2,740 decrease in annual device registration revenues for the county. On December 2nd, the Tuolumne County Finance Committee reviewed these proposed revisions to the fee ordinance and voted unanimously to forward the proposal to the Board of Supervisors for a public hearing. I recommend that after the public hearing, your board adopt the proposed ordinance amending Chapter 3.4 of the Tuolumne County Ordinance Code to revise the structural pest control operator registration fees and to exempt certain businesses from the location portion of the device registration fee. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Vicki. Questions?
Do we have to return all the money that we've been collecting without board approval?
No, because we had been exempting the people, and we fairly quickly found out that we stopped charging that a business registration fee.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, on behalf of the Finance Committee, I move in favor of the staff recommendation here.
I believe we need a public hearing, but I'll second the motion pending the public
Well,
hearing.
if that's what it's asked for, public hearing.
Open the public hearing. Any public comment? For, favor, blah, blah, blah. Closed. Got a motion?
Well, this only says we're here, consider adopting public hearing. You want us to adopt it too?
I'd like you to adopt this, yes.
Let's move on to
Okay.
staff recommendation. We're good with it.
Move in favor of adopting.
Second.
Motion second. Call for question. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vicki. Okay, let's go back and finish item 13.
13.
Consideration
Five-year
of providing staff direction on how to prepare 2015 Tuolumne County 5-year plan.
Mr. Pedro.
Okay, so Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we began developing 5-year plans back in 2012, and it's been very helpful to keep us on track on things. It's something that you develop to set your priorities. It gives us a sense of priority and time. So we're working on those things. In preparing the 2015 5-year plan, and just listening to some discussion with board members, was wondering if you'd like to change maybe the format instead of making it based primarily on to reflect the mission of the county as we've done in the past. That to make it more of something that reflects your major policy areas of interest that I hear on a board meeting by board meeting basis. I call it the big rocks, and so I've offered. So really what I'm looking for today is just a sense from you. Do you want to stay with the mission-based format that we've had in the past, or would you like to move to a major policy format, or the big rocks format for future plan development? And I've included excerpts from your 2014 plan that reflects the mission-based format, and also that's your attachment A, and then I've shown a format under a big rocks or major policy area in your attachment B. So again, I'm just looking for format direction on what format you'd prefer.
John and then Carl.
My concern by changing it is we're going to lose sight of our mission. I mean, I do understand that we have specific things, but to have a marching order that everybody sees is, to me, is very important, and that vision does do that. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Carl?
Yeah, I just have a question of our CAO, and is there a difference in level of effort for your office of one versus the other?
Well, I know these are the areas. Excuse me. The what I call the big rocks, version reflects more of what I know that the board wants to hear about, and we're going to report on those areas one way or another, in the old format or a new format. It's really more the degree of reporting on some of the issues that are of lesser import. Or a good example of that is in the health area. Not to diminish that, but a lot of that, it was going to happen one way or another. The Affordable Care Act expanded Medi-Cal. That was going to happen. Would we back away from that at all? Not at all. We're going to have to do that. So it's really more of what do you want to see by way of emphasis in your plan and reports to you. The work's going to get done.
Yeah, I guess my comment is that both formats are useful in different ways. The current format, I think, is very useful to keep the staff's focus on the tasks that are out there, and have a report card, if you will, on how we're doing on that. But I also like your proposal B or whatever too, because I do think that from the 30,000-foot view of the board looking down, that gives us a different, not necessarily better, but it gives us a different viewpoint. My concern is the amount of time and the level of effort that is spent on reporting levels of detail that maybe we don't need. And I know that's almost a radical departure from things that we've said before, but.
Yeah, well, I would like to spend the time reporting on those things that are most near and dear to your hearts, the things you really want to get done as your priorities. Not to say we're not going to do those other things, because I still work with the department heads and giving day-to-day guidance and evaluations and those kinds. So that work is going to happen. It's just what do you want to hear?
I would just emphasize, I don't want it to just be a list of all the mandates and the things that we end up doing to stay in compliance with the state and federal kind of, things that are dictated to us, but rather focus on, like you said, the big rock items, if that's how you put it, the board's goals, and it's a strategic plan, so it's what we want to accomplish over the next 5 years, lay it out ahead of time, and say, this is what we need to do to get there. So I think focus on those things. And then the other question I have is about process. What are you proposing to actually go through and to get to that? Is this
Well, at this time of year, what I would be doing is coming up, filling in these quadrants on the matrix, which kind of shows the deliverables and the different time periods, and then behind it, and that's why asking you this format question is really important, because then behind it, there's also narrative that explains each of these things, and that's a significant effort, to do that. So that would be coming back to you in January in a completed, plan, which I'm sure you'll take and want to change. So I'll present it as a complete draft. But it's which way do you want me to go? The old mission-based or more of your major policy area?
The other thing I've been thinking about is our retreat that's being planned, and this is something I mentioned to the facilitator, is the strategic plan is something I think would be appropriate to spend a little time on during that session specifically with department heads and so forth, just getting more insight into what kinds of goals they have, just more of a, I said it multiple times when I talked to them, let our hair down and look at the big picture, the wants, the needs, and all that stuff, and kind of take those discussions and use that kind of information and direction to lace into this. Do you see that being viable?
I see that discussion, well, it's whatever you guys want, but I'd see those discussions more on the hows and what people need to get things done versus what. This is what you want to accomplish. What do you want to accomplish? If you look at the nature of these categories, versus what most departments would. I mean, I'll give Bev certainly an exception with general plan. She's looking big things countywide. It's a little different than say if we're going to talk specifically about public health. It's a much more narrow view. They're just going to, what do I need to accomplish? The work in front of me.
Well, I'm thinking more, like what you're talking about, getting the general plan stuff done. Garbage is always an issue, long-term strategic planning. We've talked about it a lot. I want that to be a focus. Water, I'm sure, is one of those big rock items. Forest, health, those issues are big rock items. And we all know that those are the big rock items, but what I'm interested in is having just more kind of think tank format to strategize how we get something done, because a lot of these issues, I feel like it's just a stalemate. It's the same obstacles, whether it be, a federal agency or regulations or resources. We don't have the money to do it. So how do we get around those things? And how do we, like I said, if you could let your hair down, you sit with your department heads and your key people, say, how are we going to do something here? In a little bit more casual format versus sitting in a dais where everything's videotaped and so forth.
Well, following that train of thought, if these are the kinds of things I hear from you guys that you want to get done, look at these categories and think how many departments are going to be involved in these, like juvenile and the jail, the very specific, clientele. Water,
those are different.
Very specific, client forest issues. A lot of your departments don't really deal with these types of issues. But could you have a really good discussion of, how to move forward, water, with the people that are invested in those issues?
I like the Big Rock strategy.
Yeah, I like the Big Rock format. Again, I'm sort of back to John's initial comment, and one that I made is, I don't want to shift gears if it's going to create a lot more work on your office and the staff. I think it's useful to have the current format, but I'll be honest with you, a lot of the line items in there are things that are pretty much on cruise control. I think about, well, I'm not going to mention one because I'll probably mention one that isn't on cruise control. But there's a lot of these line items that ought to be, if they're not, they ought to be on cruise control. They shouldn't require a whole lot of our attention, probably not a whole lot of yours, other than just oversight. But there are some things that we are really, really focused on that I think we do want to keep our fingers on the pulse, if you will. And so I like the Big Rock better, but I don't want to add work to an already what I consider to be overburdened staff. So I'll leave that to your judgment, I guess.
I agree with what you said, and just kind of after listening to what you said, it kind of narrowed down my thoughts a little bit more. Same kind of thing. I don't think we need line item detail for items that are on cruise control. And the more I think about what a 5-year strategic plan should be, it shouldn't be a to-do list of just all these little tasks. It's a strategic plan and a big picture for guiding our goals and kind of our big objectives, you know. So however we make that doable without overburdening staff, I'm cool with.
Well, I do like the big rocks approach. The thing I want to see, you know, if we have a goal in mind, and I'll just pick 5 years out, what are the signposts along the way that says we're on track and we aren't on track? That's what I want to know about, so that we sense what we're making. And I like the big rocks approach because, like they said, I want the big items.
Yeah.
Not the stuff that's going to happen anyway. They're not important. They are important. You got to do the blocking and tackling before you can get to the end zone. But
I think you got to kind of, I don't know, we've fuzzed it a little bit over the last 2 years for sure, but I think that there's things that ought to be happening, whether we're here or not, you know, and they ought to just be the normal state of business. If something like that gets off track, then we need to know about it, but I don't think we need to be tracking every line item in that. We ought to be doing the higher level, like I said, 30,000 foot look. So,
well, another thought. I mean, I don't mean to imply playing games with it, but because I remember struggling with this originally in 2012. How do we do this to put feet to the mission? Back to John's point, and the one I struggle with the most is in the area of health. You know, the safety seems to lean towards, has, at least the way we've dealt with it, has been primarily in the law enforcement and fire arena. But there's a big component of health and safety, and we did have one line in there that dealt with septics as an example under health, and that's definitely a health and safety type issue. But it was a struggle outside of the Affordable Care Act, Medi-Cal expansion. You know, what are those things you would put into that health category? But safety, I could even take what you have in the big rocks and I could put them in these same categories because they fit. Some places you could put them in multiple places.
And that's what I noticed is, I was looking at when I laid them next to each other, there are those categories where there is, you can virtually lay one on top of the other. But then how do we not lose track of, you mentioned the septic systems. I was thinking about, we wanted to look at waste disposal options. And so there, a couple of those items, making sure that they don't necessarily fit into the big rocks piece of it, but without getting overly complicated, making sure they're still on,
Well, how about if I tried to take the big rock version and fold it into the same categories and add some of those things? Actually, those are a good point about health and safety. Solid waste, we know you really want to look at other alternatives of disposal.
And I want to get back
you don't want to lose that.
I want to get back to what John said. 2 points. I think the mission statement always needs to be front and center so that we do remind ourselves of what that is when we're looking at this, so we don't lose sight of it. And then it's important to, whichever it is, that it works, that it is going to fit staff's needs too. How
maybe the big rock with some subsets.
Possibly.
Yeah. One of the things I think I'm starting to see, and
he can do whatever he wants now. We give him so much.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm starting to see is it's really not a linear kind of picture. Okay, it's a multidimensional kind of picture. I mean, you got water; it's a really important thing, and all of that stuff. But it becomes a health and safety issue when it's a drought. Okay, so I mean, it's not really easy to pigeonhole everything that we're doing. A lot of it cuts across functional areas. A lot of it cuts across mission areas, all of that stuff. So,
Randy?
There's one other thing I guess I'd like to have a discussion about, and I think retreat time is the right time to do it. And I think got to rely on staff for this. I guess I want to know what the emerging issues might be that we could see on the screen that either get in the way because they'll take priority, or they'll derail perhaps what we have in mind. And those that I guess that we favor and we like and don't consider a burden, which are probably few and far between, then maybe we embrace those. But the others that are going to get in our way and just cause additional effort without value, I think we put on our legislative platform try and stop.
Yeah.
But I think we need that discussion. What is it gets in our way of getting things done?
You mean besides the state and the feds?
Well, if there are those things, but it's usually the state and the feds. But I think we can foresee some issues arising that we need to deal with going on. And maybe we don't, but if we do, we need to have them on the plate.
Well, I think we were reminded of one. It's sort of an internal issue today, and that is succession planning and the important need in the next few years to do that well.
Yep.
Well, just one comment. I'll just say what was on my mind, because we've talked about this. We have a priority-based budgeting system, and it's more of a philosophy than a system. It's a mindset, and you are going to have to suppress some things in order to give priority, and that's going to be part of. It's a great opportunity you guys are facing right now because we're coming into a better economy. No one's doing handstands yet, but it's much better than where we've been.
I think I am. I'm not sure.
Yeah. But you're going to have to say no to suppress some things in order to give priority to other things, and that's going to be where the rubber meets the road. And I think when you do have a chance to talk with the departments and their individual departments now, which is not going to look like this, you're going to hear some very important things that are emerging trends and needs. And when you start going into budget mode, you're going to have to be thinking about those priorities, and we're going to have to suppress these things in favor of other things, to live within means and advance what's most important to you.
We do every day in our own life.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but I see that complementary to this, but almost separate, from this too.
Well, since we've got a couple here, I'm looking forward to that discussion.
Yeah.
I really am.
So, if you'd like to keep the mission flavor of it, I could take the bigger rocks, because that did filter some of those lesser things out, and I can put it in that format and work with it. It's not like these aren't going to show up. It's just more of a format I'm looking for. Stay with big rocks?
Big rocks, but fold the mission in the big rocks into the mission.
Do both. Just make it work. Bring it back.
No. So
I don't ever want to work for
Devil's
Evan.
in the detail.
No, I like the big rock approach.
Okay.
But again, I go back to what Sherry and John have both said, and that we can't ever lose sight of what our mission is. And I don't, but I like the big rock approach better. Does that hurt?
No, it's whatever you guys want to do. I'm looking for consensus.
I don't mind the big rocks, but I don't want to lose sight of the mission either. So how can we do both with some common sense?
That's why we pay Craig the big bucks.
Just get it done.
Well, based on what I'm hearing, then I would go big rocks.
I don't care how we write it as long as we get the stuff done.
Okay. Then I will
Make
follow
it
the
work.
big rocks approach, and that'll be coming to you in January. Again, one of the reasons, why this is important to say is once you have your 5-year plan, your first year of the 5-year plan becomes your board goals. So then I will take that as direction to develop a 5-year plan following the big rocks format.
Done?
Done.
Last word? Thank you. Clerk, please read 14.
Consideration of approving the 3-year contract with PCM Inc., aka PCMG Inc., for the Microsoft Enterprise Enrollment.
Mr. Richardson, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Daniel Richardson, Deputy County Administrator, also with IT. Today is an IT item, technology. Every so often, we need to renew our contract to use Microsoft products, such as Office and your Windows products. This particular contract is mainly for the end user products. IT also uses Microsoft for many of its systems to help manage IT projects throughout the county. The biggest difference between this particular contract and previous contracts is the way that we are purchasing services. In the past, all Microsoft purchases were done on a per computer, per device basis. We have decided to purchase it as a per user basis. We think this makes sense because users are beginning to have multiple devices, iPads, your tablets, your basic PC. This would allow us to load Microsoft products on multiple devices without additional charge per user. So that's I think it's forward-looking. We're entering the 21st century when it comes to purchasing of IT. It's good that Microsoft is making this available. I think it will be beneficial to us now and even more so in the future. The actual price is lower by about $5,000 from our current annual price to Microsoft. I should also mention that in addition to this particular purchase of Microsoft products, we are entering into a contract called academic enrollment to get all of our library computers on a much cheaper basis, almost $25 per device per year. You compare that to over $150 per device per year we're paying right now. So the library will see a significant savings. So we're grateful that Microsoft is thinking differently in this new world that we're in of computers. So we are recommending that you approve a contract. It's a 3-year contract with PCM, and it's actually with PCMG, who is a subsidiary of PCM, to acquire Microsoft Enterprise Enrollment.
Thank you. Questions? Carl?
Just to reiterate for the public, this is a decrease in the cost from the current contract. And I'm very glad to contribute to Bill Gates' retirement fund.
Questions?
I'll move on staff recommendation.
Second.
Motion second. Public comment? Bring it back. Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Thank you, sir. Okay. Let's do 15.
Consideration of hearing a second reading of an ordinance to correct a clerical error in ordinance number 3250.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Bev Shane, Community Resources Director. At your last meeting, your board waived the first reading to approve this ordinance, which would correct a clerical error in ordinance 3250. The error relates to the area that was rezoned by your board on property that is off of Airport Road in Columbia. So I just ask your board to adopt the ordinance today.
Questions? Can I get a motion?
I move that we adopt the ordinance.
Second.
Motion second. Any public comment? Call for question. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Thank you, Bev. Okay, 16. Let's start with
Reports.
Ms. Creo.
Okay. The last couple of weeks, Chris Schmidt has spent a great deal of time working on airport issues related to hangar enforcement and attended the Airport Advisory Committee. He's also been spending a lot of time on drought issues, working with ATCA, ATCAR, and the county. Carlin attended a land use conference on December 4th and 5th, and Cody continues to do our juvenile caseload. He attended a training in Sacramento on the 3rd, and then I have been continuing to work with outside counsel on the rimfire recovery lawsuit, also the drought issues, and then training our new deputy. That's my report. Thank you.
Ms. Brennan?
The only thing I really wanted to report on was wanted to be sure that folks were aware that the Stanislaus National Forest is holding a workshop today, actually, on the rimfire reforestation effort. There will be other workshops coming forward that will be on the restoration effort, and I just want to encourage all forest users to go to these meetings and be part of the process. It's going to be very important moving forward. I think they're having an open house that goes through 5 o'clock this evening.
6, I think it is.
Okay, at the office on Greenlee Road. And encourage, like I said, all users to attend. This is the reforestation part, but the restoration part will be very important to members of our community.
How many supervisors plan on going? Are you going to go?
I'm going to go by this evening.
Anybody else?
I'm going by.
Okay.
Okay, we're
But
It's an open social thing.
Yeah,
The-
I
it's
know,
an
I
op-
just have a conflict, and I just want to make sure somebody.
Oh, okay.
was gonna
The
be
way
there.
it has been done in the past, it's kind of an open house with stations, and you go and you inquire at the station, so it's not like
a meeting.
It's
Yeah.
an open, this
like a-
portion is an open house.
Yeah.
Okay.
This
There's-
morning was more
So they're more giving
agendas.
information than
Mhm.
receiving. Okay. Alicia? Thank
I-
you, Sherry.
I just wanted to announce on December 2nd, I posted the agenda 72 hours before the meeting outside the building, but there was an error on the agenda that was posted on the website, and the last 2 closed session items were not on the website, but we did correct the error as soon as we noticed. Also, I attended CSAC on November 17th through 21st, and I also attended the California Association of Clerks and Elected Officials on December 11th.
Thank you. John?
No report.
Carl?
I also attended CSAC, and about the next week, I turned right around and went back down to Southern California, one of my favorite places to go. On the 3rd and the 4th, I attended the Aquafall Summit in San Diego. As you can expect, most of the dialogue there had to do with the water bond and the groundwater management legislation. Aqua continues to be a very good, balanced advocate for water policy in the state of California. And on the 8th, with Supervisor Hanbelt, I attended a get-together of the Department of Water Resources staff. I believe there were 4 of them there. Stan County, supervisors from Stan County, Merced County, San Joaquin County, Amador County, and Tuolumne County. Did I forget anybody? Randy? Okay. Anyway, the discussion was primarily on groundwater management and the setup of groundwater management agencies and the requirements. It was really focused on valley issues, as you might expect, but we did manage to interject a little bit of the agenda that we've been pushing on the nexus in good forestry management in the watersheds, and that if you don't treat the watersheds right, it doesn't really matter much what you do downhill. And we actually made that that pitch to the DWR staff with regards to the Delta conservation plan and the need to have a viable Delta conservation program. You really need to address the stuff that's up in the foothills as well. And I think I actually got a head nod out of them, so I think that was relatively successful. On the 9th, I met with a couple of leaders from the Tuolumne County Business Council to discuss how they might have better influence in the political process, especially as it relates to in Sacramento. And we talked about how they can engage better on their own behalf. On the 10th, I was at the Airport Advisory Committee meeting with Supervisor Gray, and I also had lunch with some leaders from the Association of Realtors. On the 12th, with Supervisor Hanvelt, I was in an all-day meeting at ATCA. Actually, it was a series of meetings. And in the evening, my wife and I went on the Polar Express. If you haven't done that, it's a wonderful experience. Even if you don't have kids, it's great to sit there and watch the kids going crazy. There were a couple of probably 3- and 4-year-olds that swear that when we were at the North Pole. It was great. And then on Saturday the 13th, I had every now and then in this kind of a job, you get to do something really special. And I was on a vetting panel for military academy applicants for Congressman McClintock. And what a great group of young adults were there. I heard some good things about one of our local Sean Brennan, one of our local applicants that wasn't in my interview panel, but he was in the panel before, the week before. And it's just really good to be able to get out there and see the great future that our country has with some of these young people that are coming up. And then yesterday morning, I went to the Economic Development Summit out at the casino, and then attended with Supervisor Hanvelt, the GAC. And I will note that tomorrow I forwarded the emails to Supervisor Hanvelt and also to Craig Pedro. There is a WIR conference call focusing predominantly on SRS and PILT funding. I will be on that conference call. So if there's any input other than the obvious that we want money, let me know and I'll make that input. Thank you.
Hanvelt.
Well, since we've had a number of reports on where I've been the last few weeks, I just only comment that was at the RCRC board meeting, and Justin Caparuso gave us a summary, which I put a copy in everybody's box. So with that, I guess I'll say no further report.
Oh, that's pretty impressive.
Okay.
It's all you.
Yeah, the only thing I'll mention is that the same Economic Development Leadership Roundtable that Carl spoke to. I was there as well. At the end, actually makes you feel good because we are hitting a lot of the points that they say that we need to be pointing, and that feels really good. But we took the opportunity to go ahead. We had a representative from the governor's office that deals specifically with economic development, and took the opportunity to dive into forest health issues and the impact that can have on just not our economy, but statewide, dip toes into water and what that can mean there, and on and on. Just passed right off to Mike Albrecht, who took it and ran with that ball. And we're careful not to beat up on the governor's representative, but to say he has a bully pulpit that we don't have, and he has a voice, and he can use it in a way that we can't. And talk to him afterwards, and they're going to try to follow up and see if they can get the governor more involved in this issue, for us and for the state.
That's good news. All right. Well, that was reports. I'm going to go to closed session here. Could the clerk please read our number 17?
17A is closed session conference with labor negotiators Craig Pedro and Fremd, Authority Government Code Section 54957.6, all bargaining units, and another closed session conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, Authority Government Code Section 54956.9D2, one case.
Anything to report you expect? Any public comment? All right, recess to closed session.